Actors and cameras at nuclear sites will be blocked. The NTSB is investigating the engine explosion yesterday of a United Airlines jetliner that had just taken off from Denver International Airport.
Denver departure United 328 Heavy Mayday aircraft just experienced engine failure, needed to turn immediately.
Debris rained onto a Denver suburb, but no one on the plane or ground was injured. On the same day in Europe, a Boeing 747 cargo plane bound for New York experienced a similar incident, dropping debris onto a Dutch town and injuring 2 people. America is listening to Fox News.
If you're a business owner, you don't need us to tell you that running a business is tough. Don't let QuickBooks and spreadsheets slow you down anymore. Now is the time to upgrade to NetSuite by Oracle, the world's #1 cloud business system. NetSuite gives you visibility and control over your financials, HR, inventory, e-commerce, and more. Join the over 24,000 companies using NetSuite right now. Schedule your free product tour right now at netsuite.com/Fox. netsuite.com/Fox.
Witnesses to a deadly shootout at a Louisiana gun store yesterday are talking about the experience. An argument began over a non-holstered firearm before the man with that gun shot and killed 2 people. He was fatally shot by bystanders. Tyrone Russell was in a concealed carry class when it happened.
My adrenaline was rushing. I was just hoping the police got here fast, and they got here fast as possible, so I thank God.
2 additional victims were hospitalized. A new report claims 3 nations have cut a deal involving COVID vaccinations and a captive.
That deal, according to Israeli media reports, involved Israel paying Russia $1.2 million to provide the Syrian government with coronavirus vaccines to secure the release of an Israeli woman held captive in Damascus. That report angering some in Israel who see Syria as an enemy nation hosting Iranian forces, while Israel refuses to provide significant quantities of vaccines to Palestinians in the West Bank and Gaza Strip. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu denying that any Israeli vaccine was involved in the deal, leading to speculation that the money paid for doses of the Russian Sputnik V vaccine. Syria is denying any such deal. Paul Stevens, Fox News.
Businesses continue to be divided over COVID restrictions, but even more so in the Tennessee and Virginia border city of Bristol. Restaurants and bars on the Virginia side have stricter restrictions than those across the way in Tennessee. Quaker.
I'm grateful to have heard from some of our satellite listeners recently. I appreciate knowing that people are out there who like what we do and are willing to support it financially. LRN.FM's free-to-air satellite feeds blanket most of 2 continents. It was my goal to put our channel there so people without internet could receive our programs and feed pirate radio stations. We started a fundraiser on Patreon a few years ago to back the satellite channels. I recently announced that I was considering canceling the feeds, and donations increased from 15 to 20% of our costs, which are around $1,000 per month. That's a good start, and to incentivize more contributions, the Shire Free Church will be matching every dollar. Can we reach $500 per month? With your help, we can. You can join our satellite fundraiser for just $2 a month at fund.lrn.fm. If we raise enough to keep both of the channels on the air, awesome. If we raise more, I'll add more channels. If not, we can shut them down and go internet only. It's up to you. Thank you for your support. fund.lrn.fm.
Delighted health insurance executives gather in an outdoor coliseum to watch a patient battle cancer. And a self-conscious flasher is fully clothed under his trench coat. This is the Onion Week in Review. While stressing that they would absolutely never consider doing anything of the sort, German leaders quietly admitted this week that they were pretty sure they could carry out another Holocaust if they ever truly wanted to. Quickly noting that the Holocaust was an atrocity that should never be repeated, no matter how easy it would be to do so, almost all members of the German parliament discreetly conceded that with their country's dominance of Eurozone GDP, pulling off the unthinkable genocide would not be the least bit difficult.
I'm just saying, hypothetically, that we very easily could do it. I mean, we definitely have the infrastructure, and the concentration camps are still standing.
In other news, a so-called Christian has an erection. A new study finds more children are growing up in single-parent households. And a real-life Nancy Drew traces the source of her HPV.
This is the Onion News Network.
Free Talk Live.
That's right, it is Free Talk Live, and you are free to call in and talk live here on the airwaves, because because, well, that's what we do on Free Talk Live. I mean, that's our whole shtick. That's what we called it, Free Talk Live. It's Mark with you.
Beakless Mountaineer.
And Richie Rich.
And the number. I got to look here, guys, because it's been a long time since
you don't have it memorized already?
Well, I memorized it, and then I left for, 6 weeks or something?
We changed everything up on you.
Because it's too cold up here.
Yeah, things have changed. 603-283-6160. I must say, the thing I miss the most is our old toll-free line. 603-283-6160. Please.
Are we going to get a new vanity number? Like, is it that difficult, or is it just costly and unnecessary?
The question is why. So why would you get a toll-free number
so
these
people
days?
don't. Oh, okay.
I mean,
it is kind of nice ending your number with free.
That's fun.
Like if I could do it on my own phone, I would.
But it's fun to end it in free. However, most people couldn't understand what we're saying, so they thought we were giving the number 3 when we said free.
Even when you said free as in freedom?
Yeah, well, that's why we had to go to
spelled it out.
Yeah, we had to go to that in order to, handle problems. But, maybe Liberty? Maybe we could get something that was like 603 Liberty? That'd be awesome.
Something to that effect. But I would say
or LBRT maybe?
Maybe the reason for it is, the predominance of people listening to talk radio might be that age group that still has a landline phone, paying MCI for long distance service.
Well, they're not paying MCI.
Okay, whatever. You know how
I got you.
It's an age reference.
Pin
Mark.
drop, baby.
The fact that you know the reference,
yes,
right?
That's why
shows the age group that you are in.
If you go to cam.freetalklive.com, you will see all of my gray hair. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, no doubt.
So those people might prefer, a toll-free number, especially if they're going to sit on hold for minutes on it.
You listen to the show regularly?
I listen to certain shows infrequently. Yes.
Have you noticed a drop in callers?
I have not.
No.
Okay.
Well, neither have we.
Okay.
I called in a couple of times while I was in Florida, and I got to say, it wasn't the most delightful experience of my day. Arguing and getting, talked over and hung up on, it wasn't much fun. So I'm giving you this commitment, callers. That's not going to happen here. The number 603-283-6160. I just kind of, to some extent, that's what Free Talk Live has been accused of for a couple of decades, and I had that experience.
Okay.
So, anyway.
I mean, I've got a vanity number that I'm not going to give out on the air just to give out because it's fun to say, too.
You got to give vanity number? You want to sell it to us?
No. I will tell it to you personally off the air, and then
I'm just going to call you on your toll, and you can pay for my call.
It's not a toll-free number. It's just a vanity number.
Just a vanity number? I see. Yeah, vanity number would be one thing. A toll-free number would be something entirely.
Who pays tolls for numbers?
Well, they were.
The 20th century?
Well, that's the thing is that we had a toll-free number, that the 855 number, and therefore people would call in on their cells on what would be a free call, but it's not because it's a toll-free number. So we paid for it while they sat on hold for 45 minutes or whatever. It could be that long. I mean, right now I see a couple of calls coming in, and I'll take care of both of them coming up here in a few moments, and then, we'll talk to them in the next segment. But, I mean, why were we doing that with the toll-free number? I think toll-free numbers are kind of gone.
Okay.
A vanity number is different than a toll-free number.
Doesn't make sense to me.
Well, there's an air of professionalism, I think, associated
Agreed.
with it.
Sure. If you call United Airlines or Amazon or whomever you're calling, you're going to call a toll-free number.
If you're the local radio show down the street doing local radio, 603 number, probably fine.
Yep.
But you're a nationally syndicated show heard in multiple continents, maybe toll-free just has that.
Ian is attempting to brand Free Talk Live in some way as a New Hampshire show.
Okay.
And having a 603 number isn't the worst thing that way.
Okay.
I don't know. I mean,
also fair.
These are things that we kicked around, and I'm glad somebody wants to talk about them because we spent an inordinate amount of time discussing it, and the conclusion we came to was, why bother?
Okay.
And if you have any thoughts on it, the number is 603-283-6160. Tell me why it sucks. 603-283-6160.
Or if you have a cool vanity number that you're willing to sell the radio show.
We're not spending much, I can tell you that. Let's get into the show prep.
Okay. So this is something, again, that we discussed a little bit prior to the show.
Uh-huh.
And Mark was like, we got to do that on the air. I'm surprised this hasn't been covered. or maybe it has, and we're going to rediscuss
It hasn't been covered by me.
Oh, okay, even better.
Understand, we're talking about the star talent has just shown up, so let's do it.
Off of his helicopter?
None of us have a cool last name like Edge.
It's just made up.
That's the best kind. You got Edge, Peakless Mountaineer. What's that? And Richie Rich. Come on.
Yep. None of us. These are not our real names, ladies and gentlemen.
I beg to differ.
My real name is Edgington.
Okay.
And
I can pronounce my name however I feel.
That's right. It's certainly not spelled that way, though.
Yes. That's how I do it. Nevada bill would allow tech companies to create governments. And this came up briefly pre-show because, hey, there's so many Move Here projects that Mark's into.
Yes, I am investigating these thoroughly.
And I said, why don't you just move to Nevada and start your own government? Because they're allowing that there.
I know this was mentioned at some point, but I'm really, really glad I get to weigh in on this.
Okay.
For just for starters, thank you, world after 2020, because we are absolutely moving into the cyberpunk era of human reality.
Yeah, I mean, the government has contracted so dramatically in the last year that it is. I mean, the whole freedom charts are absolutely on their ear. Like, there was a moment in time in March of last year, of 2020, that New Hampshire was the #1 freest state in the union. But turns out that with the COVID charts, New Hampshire's 23. Florida's number 6 behind South Dakota, Arkansas, Oklahoma, and a few other places.
Wow. Yeah, Florida is the one I usually hear about just as far as everything's open. I mean, like, events exist, not that it's not restricted at all. But
I haven't gone to an event in Florida. I've been down there for the last couple of weeks. And
just wait, spring break is coming.
Yeah.
It's right around the corner.
I wouldn't have any interest, but
can't go to Cancun because travel restrictions.
Well, no, there's no
because
travel
you might run into Ted Cruz.
Oh yeah, there you go.
As a matter of fact, I am going to Cancun for spring break.
Okay.
My son's spring break. He wanted to go to see the pyramids in Mexico.
Okay.
So
Isn't he a little young for spring break?
Nothing cooler than bringing your dad along for spring break.
to see the pyramids.
About partying, Lee. Peakless.
Got to show him the ropes.
Couldn't do it for Mardi Gras. I got to go to spring break. Carson City. This is from the APnews.com. Planned legislation to establish new business areas in Nevada would allow technology companies to effectively form separate local governments.
You know, I think that Nevada's just basically come to the conclusion that this, sort of tiptoeing through the tulips around our fascist economy is, it's too slow. It's too backward. Like, let's just hammer it in the fact that we have corporate control of government.
But with corporate control of government means anyone with a corporation and enough money can form their own government.
Yeah, that is.
How much money are we talking about?
I don't know if it gets to it in the article, but I know you said like $250,000.
No.
$250 million.
$250 million.
Okay.
$250 million
fundraise
that you can show to begin building a city.
If only libertarians weren't so averse to making money.
And also,
it'd be easy.
There's basically not an aquifer.
Okay.
You cannot drill for water.
So good luck not dying in the desert there.
They built Las Vegas in the desert, man.
They built Las Vegas back when, you know what they did to, they flooded a whole town. They put up the that dam there. What?
Hoover
Dam, flooded out of town, and it is down. Like it's not nearly as high as it was. You cannot reroute that water and get more water to some new place. It's not possible.
Set up a pipeline and pipe it in from California or Canada.
I'm not saying that Amazon couldn't do it, but you can't.
Okay. But tech companies can. And if they're going to allow corporations to do it, that should be an avenue.
Oh, it will get done.
It could, yeah, right. If Google or Facebook want to do this, then it may very well be the thing. I don't know what happens with Web 3.0 and how that looks, and if these companies even survive. What do you think? 603-283-6160, 603-283-6160, Free Talk Live.
Divvy's been a pretty good investment for Free Talk Live. Their ad campaign started in September 2019, and from mid-March to mid-July, the values soared by 10 times. It's not too late. Divvy's new wallet hasn't even released yet, and other things are happening that I can't even say on the radio. If you want to invest and potentially do well, go to DivvyProject.org. I can tell you that FTL is deepening its partnership with the guys from DivvyProject.org. Past performance is not an indication of future profit. DivvyProject.org. DIVI Project.org.
Look, I'm sorry, but you're in for a world of pain if you use Koinomi. The reason is their wallet doesn't support payments. The solution is simple. Let them hear your voice. Message Koinomi on Twitter, it takes 5 seconds, and tell them AnyPay sent you, because they're on the fence right now, and your voice will prove that people care about using Bitcoin for payments. Go tweet at Koinomi now. Or even better, leave a review in the App Store. They really pay attention there. Thanks.
What if you want to hear the latest episode of Free Talk Live, but all you have is your phone, you forgot to download our archive, and you have no data connection? You can call our Listen line at 641-793-0191. That's a long-distance number, so you may incur charges. If not, listen as long as you want. 641-793-0191. The Free Talk Live Listen line, 641-793-0191.
Having taken her father's throne, Sarah Calhoun has fallen out with one of her best allies, and her brother Nathaniel heads into Imperial Philadelphia with a reckless plan. Her uncle Thomas, armed with new powers and new allies, aims to remove Sarah from her throne and from the world of the living. To survive, and to gain the strength she needs to fight an impossible war, Sarah must unite the Mound Builder Kings to enact an ancient rite that will propel her beyond mortality. Servant Daughter by T.J. Butler is the newest entry in the Dragon Award-winning Witchy War series from Baen Books at BaenBooks.com.
So the protection of life, liberty, and property is what the Free State Project is all about. But it's an effort to move 20,000 people who understand.
It's about demonstrating to the entire country
that, yeah, we can have a free market, a truly free market.
Making it just a freer, great place to live.
It's the world's largest voluntarist libertarian community, and it's only getting bigger.
That's amazing, to be able to move to a place where other people passionately believe in being free and independent.
What the Free State Project is managing to do, though, is to put their money where their mouth is. It's physically getting up across the country and saying, let's go someplace and let's demonstrate the power of these ideas. There's a lot of kind of philosophy that surrounds liberty. There's a lot of thinking about it and talking about it. But here in New Hampshire, people are doing it.
101 Reasons Liberty Lives in New Hampshire, a documentary by Free State Project Early Movers. Watch it free at 101reasonsfilm.com. 101reasonsfilm.com. Tired of cancel culture? Sick of mega tech corporations holding an axe over your head? Join the LRN.FM Matrix chat server. It's self-hosted, so no one else can tell us what to do or say. Don't like the existing channels? You can make your own. You can even connect into some of our channels from other Matrix servers. It's federated. For the full LRN.FM Matrix experience, though, you should join our server via the step-by-step instructions at chat.lrn.fm. Chat.lrn.fm.
You know that at some point in your life, an emergency is going to happen. You just don't know when. You could call the government, and maybe they'll help. Or they might shoot your dog. Why call potentially psychopathic strangers when you could ask your friends, family, or neighbors for help? Cell 411 makes decentralized emergency response possible, and it's free. Visit GetCell411.com or download Cell 411 from your favorite app store. GetCell411.com. Do you appreciate what we do? Help us advertise, market, and promote for just $5 a month at amp.freetalklive.com.
Free Talk Live. The number, 603-283-6160. We're talking about what appears to be an opportunity for large corporations to create their own company towns in
wealthy corporations.
Yeah, very wealthy corporations in Nevada. And we do kind of cover stuff like this on Free Talk Live, so I think it's worth, if we've covered this already, I don't mind covering it again because I really want to kind of dive into this. But I do think that this is not feasible for projects like the Free State Project, where people want more liberty and better things. It may be a great place to go get a job. I don't know. Like if Apple wants to move its entire campus out of California, Palo Alto. I think they have Palo Alto, right? Or is that Facebook?
That sounds right.
Anyway, wherever they are.
A lot of companies are fleeing California at this point.
Right. If they want to move their whole campus out there and create a whole new one.
And what a great way to, invite those Silicon Valley companies into Nevada, right across the border there with you're your own government now.
Yeah, you handle it. But I mean,
not only will there be no taxes, there will be your taxes.
You do have to go to the government and beseech them for every little thing on this. But I can see some corporation might want to do this. I don't consider it a huge advantage. I don't think it's a jump forward in human organizational models. But hey, maybe.
Well, I mean, it's worth considering the fact that how many companies technically and hypothetically exist in Delaware for one reason, and it's just the taxes.
Well, they don't actually exist in Delaware, whereas building, having $250 million in the bank and investing, I think it was $25 million in infrastructure. And, going through all the process, that's an entirely different thing. But yes, you're right.
Well, right. But I mean, you can be like Las Google and say, hey, credit card company, we have even more permissive tax laws in our little town.
It's true. Let's go to Richard calling in from Florida, listening on YouTube. Richard, you're on Free Talk Live.
Hey, Mark, how are you?
All's well. What's on your mind?
Well, the Nevada thing, everybody thinks Nevada's just desert. Like, I used to live on the 395 in Eastern California, and I've been all through Nevada. Like, there's a lot of nice places. There's actually a lot more water than you might think, a lot of nice hot springs and stuff.
But there's a lot of, you would admit that there's a great deal of inhospitable place in Nevada, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And a lot of it, they did all the nuclear bomb testing there, too, so a lot of it still has, a really weird kind of vibe to it.
Look, if they're talking about terraforming Mars, man, you can talk about terraforming Nevada.
It could be done.
Yeah, for sure. So yesterday you mentioned Saipan, and I know Ian started throwing a temper tantrum, and so
it tends to happen.
Yeah, it happens. We make a living out of arguing, so it's okay.
What's up with that? Because I looked into this Free State Project back in I've been listening to your show since 2006, and I looked into the Free State Project, but I grow a lot of food and stuff, and New Hampshire's not really conducive for that. And then
it has some advantages for that. I grew food in New Hampshire for quite some time, but we can go back and forth on that. I'm sure you have you've got a lot of time and energy invested in your homestead already, and that's hard to give up.
Yeah, that, and then I don't know. I didn't really like the way that the kind of the locals were perceiving a lot of the quote unquote activism going on. And
yeah, it's a very flawed system to say, hey, we're all here to fix all you broken mamma jammas, and we know the way to do this, and we know how to do it better than you.
That's a flaw on the activist side of things.
It sure is.
So,
yeah,
well,
that's not a problem with the project.
Thing? What's that? Because that's a conducive climate, and there's fishing, and what's that about?
So, to be clear, Saipan is an island among the U.S. Marianas. So the Guam is part of the Mariana Islands, but it's its own separate entity, and the rest are one territory. Now, a territory is similar and different than a U.S. state. And you don't get to vote for the U.S. president, but there's more autonomy. You can do more things. Mostly, they signed a contract that gave the United States federal government the ability to use some runways on Tinian, which was where the planes that dropped the A-bombs on Japan took off from. And they traded that for what it basically is a whole bunch of checks sent to their locals. They operate very much like imagine a welfare state that didn't have to pay for its own welfare.
Kind of like Puerto Rico a little bit, sort of.
Yeah, right. So there's a huge nepotism problem within their government. People are hired based on what families they're from, but not how good they are at doing their job, which means their government is highly inefficient, which is a libertarian's dream.
Yeah, that's what you want. They can't get anything done.
They cannot get anything done. And
do nothing government sounds great.
Of people moving there.
What's that?
Is there some kind of idea out there, like a spark or idea?
Yeah, so if you go to cryptofrontier.com, you can start looking at the project. It's basically a project to get people who are interested in cryptocurrency to work on things within the government there. It's not overtly. They're trying to learn from some of the difficulties that the Free State Project's had, and not saying, "Hey, we're going to fix Saipan."
Don't be a douchebag to the natives.
And you should not be.
Well, that's the thing. And I would think it would be a lot easier to sort of operate an environment like that where just not anybody can show up in a junk car and
Right. You got to have a plane ticket for, at this
camera.
point, at least $800, I think it is, to get there. It's not cheap. And it's remote. You're not going to get from Saipan to, where are you, Florida? You're not going to get from Saipan to Orlando in less than
20 hours.
20 hours, yeah. It's just not going to do it. So there's a lot of
If you
hops.
move there, Ian's not going to get mad and fire you.
Oh, I was there. I lived there for 2 months, from January 17th through March the 23rd.
And legally, you're still there.
And I'm legal as far as the IRS is concerned, because I moved within 14 days of a declared state of emergency. I am still on the island legally. But I was on island. I was doing the show once or twice a week, depending on which week we were talking about. I had co-hosts. I had the whole shebang going, taking callers. There was a bit of a delay, but it was doable. It was something I could handle.
Free Talk more or less live.
Yeah, well, yeah, Free Talk delayed by a little bit, but it worked.
You're the only real voice of reason on the program.
I take offense to that.
You are not reasonable, son.
So, anyway, I appreciate it. You guys get
Peakless Mountaineer.
That was Crypto Frontier.
CryptoFrontier.com. Yeah, and it's a fascinating idea. I'd like to rattle off a couple of things. Gambling, completely legal. There's roadside casinos and everything. If you want to do that, I don't recommend it. I think gambling's a bad idea.
Yeah,
obviously it's rigged for the house, but it's one of the things that libertarians always talk about. Marijuana, legal, not semi-legal, legal.
Well, coming from Northern California, that's a benefit for me. I know how to do all that for sure.
And
I grow a big 5
at this point,
for sure.
They don't have a grow operation. Nobody has been able to make it profitable.
With that climate,
prostitution ignored.
You'd have to do light deprivation. That's all.
And again, I don't recommend prostitutes to people, but libertarians care about this particular issue. Income tax is half of what it is.
Libertarians love degenerate behavior.
There's no sales tax. There's no property tax.
But you can't own property.
Howleys cannot currently own land, but they can own a condo.
Okay.
Free Talk Live. 603-283-6160. 603-283-6160.
If you're looking for work, you know what I mean by elevator speech. It's the short version, saying just enough to make the listener want to listen more. Even if you're not a job seeker, effective communication skills have never been more important, with money and attention so scarce now. So to cut through the clutter, choose every single word as though it was the last word the person you're speaking to will hear. Otherwise, it might be. Instead of saying, due to the fact that, say, because. And avoid mispronunciations. Say jewelry, not jewelry, which could offend. Undoubtedly, you don't want to say undoubtedly. And whatever you do, never use a preposition to end a sentence with. Just kidding. For more tips, hit survivalspeech.com. I'm Holland Cook.
Free Talk Live, the show where anyone can call about whatever they want. And we do mean anyone.
So are you saying that if government ran a dating service, that society's problems would be solved?
Yes, actually they would. I know it's hard to believe, but it would.
Yeah, that's real hard to believe. I mean, there are dating services all over the place. Why would a government-run dating service be better?
No, they don't work. They're not Christian. They charge a lot of money.
What makes you think a government-run dating service would be better or Christian?
Yes, it would, because everybody would be in the same computer. Today it would be run by a computer. Everybody's knowledge of their existence and location would be in one place.
Let's say I disagree. What happens to me?
What happens if you disagree? Well, you can disagree, but does that mean you're not going to cooperate with
Yeah, that's right.
I don't know. Maybe I'd come over there and beat the hell out of you.
Free Talk Live, 7 nights a week from 7 to 10 Eastern, live on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
Want to accept Bitcoin at your online store? There's a good chance you already have what you need: a WordPress using WooCommerce and a Bitcoin address. Now all you need to start taking Bitcoin payments on your website is the AnyPay app on your Android or iPhone. Just paste your Bitcoin address into AnyPay, then connect it to your website with our one-click plugin for WordPress. Now your website takes Bitcoin, start to finish, in 15 minutes or less with no complicated steps. Download AnyPay from the App Store today.
Some of you asked, and now we've delivered. LRN.FM's live Keene, New Hampshire studio shows are now streamed in HD on Twitch. Visit our channel at twitch.lrn.fm and give it a follow. If you have Amazon Prime, you get one free subscription on Twitch. If you use it on our channel, Twitch will give LRN.FM a monthly piece of your Prime subscription cost. So please watch, follow, share, and subscribe to twitch.lrn.fm. That's twitch.lrn.fm. Is spreading the message of liberty, cryptocurrency, and peace around the globe worth $2 per month to you? As you may already know, in addition to our internet feed, LRN.FM broadcasts on free-to-air satellite across North and Central America, as well as Sub-Saharan Africa. And we've been available on satellite for free 24/7 since 2010. The LRN.FM free-to-air satellite signal is reaching some of the most oppressive regimes in the world, and there's no doubt our ideas are making an impact. You can learn more about the channel's impact by watching the 3-minute video at fund.lrn.fm. If you'd like to help free minds globally with our ideas of liberty, cryptocurrency, and peace, you can donate as little as $2 per month via fund.lrn.fm. You can help us continue and expand our satellite broadcast to multiple continents. Visit fund.lrn.fm today, and thank you for your help. Don't forget to share the link on social media. That's fund.lrn.fm.
Our Matrix server is about as free as internet chat can be. Join the existing rooms or create your own at chat.freetalklive.com.
Free Talk Live. Push the wrong button. Advertising professional. I didn't hang up on anybody. The number 603-283-6160. That's 603-283-6160.
Mark was like, I got this. Off hold.
Wrong button.
How long have you been gone?
You know, if I'm here
I don't know the
week,
number. I don't know where any of the buttons are. I don't know how to answer the phones.
I'd have to be in this seat 3 times a week to actually be proficient at doing this stuff. I'm sorry. I just don't have that kind of mind. You know, like, whatever.
Maybe you should keep grooming Peakless for first chair.
Indeed.
Amongst other things.
Soon I shall ascend the throne.
603-283-6160. So,
hey, if I'm not required to be reasonable, I may as well make the best of it.
Agreed.
No, you have to be reasonable if you sit in that chair.
Oh, right.
That's the reasonable chair.
Else I shall not ascend the throne.
That hasn't been evident over the course of almost 20 years now. Ian has sat in this chair most of the time.
That's why you have to groom Peakless.
That's right.
Yeah.
So,
am I the only one thinking of like a couple of gorillas like eating ticks off each other at this point?
Grooming?
Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
We were talking about in the last break the idea that Nevada is apparently proposing. They have not ratified this. This is not law in Nevada or anything like that. The idea that corporations, large money holders, you have to have, $250 million, can build a town out in the desert or wherever, someplace in Nevada.
Well, form their own government.
Form their own government.
Yeah, form their own local government.
Now, one of the things I'd say about that particular... So imagine right now you can form your own government. You can create a community that has a homeowners association, right?
Sure.
And
yes.
it is very much like a government in that you can make people be a part of it without them wanting to.
Well, they'd have to buy property in a given geographic area and sign a contract that they're willing to do that and all that sort of thing. But, they signed a contract. So at the very least, they signed up for that level of government. But the thing about a homeowners association, and frankly, a county or a city or a municipality or a town, whatever you want, is that it's basically a governmental overlay. It is not, you can't get more freedom by starting a town. You can only get less.
Okay.
Right? Do you see how a homeowners association works in that way?
I see the homeowners association in that way, but let me read like the next 2 paragraphs here.
Please do.
Because I think there might be an opportunity depending on how Nevada is structured.
And mind you, this is not passed yet.
Right. Democratic Governor Steve Sisolak announced a plan to launch a so-called innovation zones in Nevada to jumpstart the state's economy by attracting technology firms, Las Vegas Review-Journal reported Wednesday. This is the important one. The zones would permit companies with large areas of land to form governments carrying the same authority as counties, including the ability to impose taxes, form school districts and courts, and provide government services.
Right. So the courts wouldn't be likely superior courts, which are run by the state.
Right.
They would be circuit courts. You'd be able to do school zones, which would be cool. School is, in many places, 75% of the governmental costs. So if you could just hand out laptops and do teaching over the internet, well, frankly, like every place is doing, almost everybody's doing right now.
You mean acting like we live in the 21st century instead of, say, the 1800s?
Right. Then you've suddenly, ba-bing, saved a whole bunch of money.
So one of the arguments that I hear from, movers here, Free State Project people here, is in New Hampshire, at least, the state level is like the perfect size of government because it keeps the feds off your back. Like federal is too big, but the counties, if given too much power, would make it difficult to traverse from county to county without running afoul of some, small local ordinance. So the state has to impose certain restrictions on those county governments.
Now, do you mean size in terms of geography or politics?
Politics.
Okay.
Like town governments too small because you go from one town to the next town and the rules are completely different, and that's
I don't know, man. I moved out here from Denver, which is both.
Okay.
It is the city and county of Denver.
Understood. Talk to some people here about the politics because they don't like the cities being able to make their own rules that affect state level stuff.
Sure. So cities would, in many cases, pass rules on. I think that Keene passed an unconstitutional. I mean, unconstitutional by a state standard. This Keene is the town from which we broadcast.
Sure.
Law that raised the smoking age to 21, and they're not able to do that, but they did, and they're willing to fight it all the way till the point they lose. Because why wouldn't they? Who's gonna argue with this? 19-year-old smoker? They don't have any money.
Well, and if from the libertarian perspective of always shrinking down the size of government from the Fed level to the state level to the city level to the county level to the individual level, huzzah, we've won, right? You should want that the cities to have more power than the state at
that way
level.
People would move away from the city in order to have more freedom.
Seems reasonable. So if you're talking about Nevada going you're your own county, right? You have county level powers and you have the power to impose, form school districts, etc. Doesn't mean that you must, right? So if you're a tech company and you want to attract people to your area, you have less taxes, right, than those surrounding areas. You provide less services than those surrounding areas, and the people who prefer freedom, right, in the inhospitable desert.
The funny thing is that you can provide local and state governments are so inefficient that many of the services that they provide are wildly more expensive than they should be. You can provide free schooling to people at a significantly less of a cost.
Well, but you could also form a county and not do that at all.
You could potentially. You probably run afoul. Okay, so every state constitution except for New Hampshire's mentions public school as a right.
Okay.
So you would probably have to provide some level of schooling as a county in a corporation that made a county. But you could provide it at a significantly less cost. remember, MIT put its entire curriculum on the internet for free.
It would be interesting if Google or Facebook or Microsoft or whatever, we're moving to Nevada, and here's that school in this particular county.
For the people out there that believe that the only schooling is government school and the teachers are next to God, please remember, my son went all the way through 5th grade without ever stepping into a classroom. It's not, you don't need a teacher. You can just have, the stuff that you learn coming out of, I don't know. The stuff you learn coming out of elementary school is basically to read and
reading,
writing, arithmetic.
And every metric that they've tried to measure this stuff with shows that your outcomes are way better not going to public school. If you get homeschooled, you test 80% higher.
Right. Homeschool tends to be better. Now, there could be a selection bias in that, and we don't know, but it's true. What you say is a true statement. It's absolutely true. And think about the stuff you learned in high school. The old Paul Simon's song about everything.
Gang warfare.
Think about all the crap I learned in high school. It's a wonder I can think at all. The only thing I learned in high school that has been of any use to me, I'm not talking about factoids and interesting trivia questions. I'm talking about usefulness. I have yet to diagram a sentence post high school, okay?
Wait until you have to help your son with his geometry.
Right.
Those SAS curves are going to come back to you like that.
Don't worry, we've changed the math to make it impossible for you to help your kids with their math homework.
Right. The only thing I used was typing, and it was an elective.
Okay.
PE, they don't even have, isn't even a requirement anymore.
No one comes out of high school and they're like, wow, I have so many skills now. I'm so capable. I can get jobs doing things. No one comes out of public school with anything like that.
Maybe a little bit public school if you took like shop class. Because,
right.
That seems
the electives
useful to
are
a
the
lot
only.
of people.
Yeah, the electives are the only useful part of this.
More knowledge and fewer fingers. Welcome to shop class.
That's only the professor, man.
The number, 603-283. Are you offended by the things I have said? Many people are. 603-283-6160. Your calls coming up here on Free Talk Live.
I've been told no in many different ways.
I give you an order and you're going to obey it.
George, you can go this way. You can do that and you have to leave here.
You cannot bring signs into the rally.
Walk with me.
Well, I'm comfortable here, actually. Whoa. Hey.
Who do you think you are?
Excuse me.
There is no video and audio allowed in this office.
No, I have work today.
You ain't going to make it.
Wait a minute.
Hey! Oh my God! Unbelievable! Why are you running from me?
Because you scared me. What am I being detained for?
You're being served.
What is this?
You're being served.
What is this? Bureaucrats have a funny way of telling people no.
That's the sound of the men working on the chain.
Derek J's Victimless Crime Spree. Watch it for free and order the Director's Cut DVD at victimlesscrimespree.com.
Are you tired of your taxes funding endless occupations around the world? Antiwar.com is run by people who understand that wars abroad become wars at home, wars on our freedoms. Antiwar.com is dedicated to bringing you the latest in news, views, interviews, and reviews from the top movers and shakers in the anti-occupation movement. Antiwar.com has it all, from thorough foreign policy analysis to interviews with whistleblowers who used to run the military-industrial complex. Anti-war, pro-free market. That's antiwar.com.
So you've heard all 3 hours of the latest episode of Free Talk Live, and you're still hungry for liberty-oriented audio content? Did you know that we have another 24/7 audio stream at LRN.FM? The Liberty Radio Network airs the latest episodes of some of the best liberty-oriented podcasts on the internet around the clock. In addition to recorded content, you'll also hear live shows like Free Talk Live, originating from our Keene, New Hampshire studio. So listen anytime at LRN.FM. That's LRN.FM. On Free Talk Live, we're bringing people to the ideas of liberty every day. From wrestling superstars like Glenn Jacobs.
You guys really are having an impact, I believe. Like I said, a lot of where I am now is due to listening to Free Talk Live. You changed my mind on some very important issues years ago.
To random people tuning in on the radio.
I was kind of stuck in the left-right paradigm. I heard your show by chance on a Saturday night.
from there, I went on, joined the Free State Project, and become an amplifier. So, I mean, that's really the reason why I amp is because I know that if it wasn't for you guys being on as many stations as you are, I never would have found the ideas of liberty.
Your amp will directly change more lives by getting Free Talk Live in front of people looking for talk radio online and on the air. When you amp Free Talk Live, you get perks like access to the AMP-only Facebook group and AMP podcast. Visit amp.freetalklive.com. If you want to know the latest about Free Talk Live before we go on the air, all you need to decide is how you want it delivered. It's your choice. Visit news.freetalklive.com to receive our usually weekly news updates by email. Plus, we have a Twitter account at twitter.freetalklive.com, and you can follow us on the decentralized Mastodon platform at toot.freetalklive.com. So please follow us at toot.freetalklive.com and sign up for our emails at news.freetalklive.com. Bitcoin.com has launched a trading platform at local.bitcoin.com, allowing you to buy or sell Bitcoin Cash via dozens of payment methods like PayPal, Venmo, bank deposit, remittances, or meeting in person with cash. There are no ID requirements to sign up for and use the site, and all communications between buyers and sellers are encrypted. Finally, a global trading platform that respects your privacy. Visit local.bitcoin.com to get started trading Bitcoin Cash. local.bitcoin.com.
You can stick it to the man and big tech. Join our FTL social mastodon at social.freetalklive.com.
Free Talk Live. Call in, talk about whatever's on your mind.
Open my mic!
The number is 603-283-6160. We promise not to take ourselves too seriously this evening, but we'll take you seriously. What? Oh, I see. You got the thing clicked. We got new cough buttons. Aren't they awesome? By the way,
that was awesome. You totally tricked him.
It's not.
He was like, did I actually? I meant to mute Rich, and now Peakless is muted.
603-283-6160.
Worried your Alzheimer's was kicking in early?
I know it's going to happen to me. I already had a bad memory to start with. I know that the whole Alzheimer's thing's going to happen to me.
It's because of the vampires. I'm telling you.
Well, the number one thing to prevent Alzheimer's is to keep using your brain.
It's true. Learn a language, Sudoku puzzles. You got to do all these things. Yep.
Sudoku.
Let's go to the phones. We've got Scott the Bigot from Florida. Scott.
Hello, gentlemen. How are you?
All's well.
Good evening. You're talking about large companies, and my beef is with ruthless technocrats that have destroyed Americans' freedom of speech, and their First Amendment rights are being diminished daily. And I have a little list here of 3 major ones that have destroyed First Amendment rights. And let's begin with Mark Zuckerberg, owner of Facebook, is greatly responsible for this nightmare. And Zuckerberg has even cut off Australia's freedom of speech. He has the audacity to tell the people of Australia, I don't know how many people, 20, 30 million people that live there, maybe the population of Canada, that you cannot have freedom of speech. It's forbidden. Only I can authorize to give you freedom of speech. So he is really a pompous SOB. He's horrible. Then you've got Michael Bloomberg.
Well, let me comment on that. I know what the running thread between these people's names is going to be. It may be just Berg. Oh. But Zuckerberg, I'm going to agree
even the
with
iceberg took down the Titanic.
Now, I couldn't say whether Zuckerberg is controlled is controlled or whatever. Like, I don't know who's telling him to tell people what they can say and what they can't. But I will agree that major social media platforms, including Parler at this point,
goodbye President Parler.
Yeah, they're out of control. And it's like there are things you can say and things you can't say. And at this, I'm going to take the opportunity to plug social.freetalklive.com. We started up our own node on Mastodon. As I understand, you cannot be kicked off and deplatformed on Mastodon.
Federated is awesome.
You can say things on the Free Talk Live server that will get you kicked off, but they're much less restrictive than, say, social media.
And you can also start your own node and federate yourself. So I think that plug right there, Mark, just wipes out the entire argument of the technocrats moderating free speech, because they moderate it on their platform, of which there are many.
You have to ask, like, do people actually want this? Because, I mean, everyone knows that Facebook and these other major social media platforms are moderating speech, and no one seems to be, like, there's no mass exodus.
Well, they gave you the unfollow and block buttons, and I think that they're amazing. They work. Mm-hmm. If you just want to see puppies and babies on Facebook, you can absolutely do that. My wife has managed to turn Facebook into a pleasant place to be.
I'm in an ongoing poke war with Jackie Perry.
And
so you got Mark Zuckerberg, who's one of them.
We're gonna get to
and then
Bloomberg,
you got Michael
right.
Bloomberg, owner of Bloomberg News.
How did you know it was in that order?
Also destroying Americans' First Amendment rights, and this is the third one. You got the Sulzberger family, owner of the New York Times, all the news that's unfit to print.
I had no idea it was the Sulzbergers that ran New York Times.
Yeah, they own the New York Times. So you were saying, Mark,
Funny.
about the common
they
thread.
Don't sound Jewish.
The common thread is that they are all, the media is AKA
Big Ice is dominated by Bergs.
The Jewish media that controls the world, and they dictate to the world what you're going to say, what you're not going to say. You're going to toe the line, and I'm going to tell you something.
Is the guy who runs Twitter is he a Berg?
Jack Dorsey?
No, his name's Jack Dorsey. He's not a Jew, but the point of the matter is that overall, if you look at the whole, just like international banking,
maybe they're
Jews
just
do control the media.
I don't know.
And they dictate what you're
I
going to
gotta say, I just went into business with a rich Jewish guy, and I'm very confident.
So
Smart.
here's
all the best.
thing. So
they're good with the money.
So if your media conspiracy has a gaping hole in it like that, how about picking another media conspiracy that doesn't have a gaping hole, like the fact that Twitter and Facebook and all of these are deeply in bed with the government?
Well, I think that it's fair to say city mice versus country mice. I like this distinction because it seems to be like it even goes further. If you're talking about people of different ethnicities, whatever they might be, if they're city folks versus country folks, it really seems to be about that sort of rugged individualism versus the homogeny of people living together peacefully, or whatever it takes to have a city of 2 million people not erupt into a race war.
Well, what does that have to do with our media censorship?
They're all city mice. Every one of them wants to control what you can say, where you can say it.
The ones doing it are all city mice.
They're all city mice.
Mm.
Yeah.
And go ahead.
Yeah, that's just my
distinction.
distinction.
a lot of it just comes down to, do you prefer things to be centralized or decentralized?
I think we're learning decentralized works best.
Oh, it does.
But to sort of answer your question earlier when you said, like, why aren't people getting off of these platforms?
Right.
Well, because the vast majority of people don't say controversial things. Right? So you don't need to, those people who are on Facebook who aren't saying anything controversial or ban-worthy don't care.
We have almost 1,000 people at social.freetalklive.com, and it still hasn't reached a sort of synergy point where enough people are posting and these sorts of things. I will tell you what has synergy is matrix.freetalklive.com. There are people in the chat room right now, and these are busy folks.
Yes.
They're in there right now. I'm looking at the Singularity and Baraka 68 something, and I don't have my reading glasses on.
But people who don't have controversial things to say will stay on Facebook. They'll stay on Twitter. They'll get that echo chamber, the mundane, the normal, the average. Right, and it's the people who have controversial things.
And
that
that would be great if they weren't ruling over the rest of us.
But the thing, they're not, because things like Mastodon exist, like social.freetalk.
Well, no. I mean, like, okay, so you have these platforms that don't actually allow controversial information to disseminate.
Yeah, I think that the worst one is YouTube. So I mean,
probably
YouTube is the worst of this because
GooTube.
They have an opportunity for people to make money, but then they will lose that opportunity to make money if they talk about things that are in any way controversial. In any way,
sure.
You can report the truth about China, and you will be deplatformed.
Mm-hmm.
China Uncensored is a great channel.
They've got a brand new way of flagging people now too. So it's not only is it if you get flagged if you're against our completely unknown community standards, but also if you call into question anything that is widely reported, that will now get you flagged.
Sure. And so the MyPillow guy got deplatformed from a bunch of places, but guess what? His documentary, the truth or whatever, I forget the title of it, is available on Rumble. Right, so there's a platform out there.
I'm not claiming that. Okay, so there's a difference between what is a monopoly in its hard definition and a market maker, as far as any business goes. If you're deplatformed from Facebook and Twitter, the vast majority of the world is unavailable to you.
Right.
Okay.
And that wouldn't be such a big problem, except that vast majority of the world is voting.
Yeah. And I mean, they can be convinced very quickly that, somebody's bad and somebody's good. And these are low information voters.
Yeah. Sure. And that's what I meant by they have power over the rest of us, is that, democracy is set up this way.
This is why we need communities. This is why we need decentralized communities like we're talking about in Nevada. And I want to talk about that some more because I've been working on this quite a bit. And I think we're right on the precipice of a solution to this particular problem.
Okay. Well, the power that Peakless mentioned isn't the power of the platform itself. It's how they parlay that into political power.
Mm.
So if the platform itself is what it is, it's just a platform. There's a bunch of competing platforms. Pick the one you like best.
You could make the claim right now. You could make it. I mean, there's plenty of the election was close enough. You can make almost any claim, and it would be, not specious. The election was close enough that you could claim that essentially the deplatforming of Trumpsters, the Trump supporters during the 2020 election caused Trump to lose.
Because those people changed their vote, or because
they might have been able to convince more people that they shouldn't have voted for the other crooked old pervert. Your thoughts, 603-283-6160, 603-283-6160.
Are you tired of governments murdering people around the world? Stop using their money. There is an alternative. Bitcoin is a stateless, free market, non-political currency. Bitcoin cannot be inflated or controlled by any government. By using their money, you are helping the state. Stop doing it. You have an incredible alternative available now. Learn it, use it, spread it. Get started with Bitcoin at Bitcoin.com. That's Bitcoin.com.
Divvy's been a pretty good investment for Free Talk Live. Their ad campaign started in September 2019, and from mid-March to mid-July, the values soared by 10 times. It's not too late. Divvy's new wallet hasn't even released yet, and other things are happening that I can't even say on the radio. If you want to invest and potentially do well, go to DivvyProject.org. I can tell you that FTL is deepening its partnership with the guys from DivvyProject.org. Past performance is not an indication of future profit. DivvyProject.org. DIVI Project.org. I'm a little obsessed with My Magic Mud. Several years ago, I met Jessica Armand, the founder and CEO of My Magic Mud, and I didn't even know my teeth were coffee stained. A week's worth of use convinced me, and now I use it every 3 or 4 days. It's clinically proven to whiten teeth, and I think it cleans better, too. My Magic Mud's available at most local health food stores, Sprouts, Natural Grocers, CVS, Walmart's Natural Beauty Aisle, but I can get it for you for 20% off with coupon code FTL20 at mymagicmud.com. FTL20 mymagicmud.com.
The LRN.FM social media channels have been revamped. We've eliminated Facebook and focused on other platforms like Twitter and Mastodon, the decentralized alternative to Twitter. On our accounts, you'll find posts from multiple LRN.FM show hosts together in one place. Follow us on Twitter at twitter.lrn.fm, or better yet, move to the decentralized Mastodon social media platform at toot.lrn.fm, toot.lrn.fm. I think you'll like it.
You're listening to the live edition of Free Talk Live. Hour number 2 is next after the news here on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
could be summer before some Americans can be vaccinated. I'm Joe Chiro, Fox News. That according to the nation's top infectious disease expert.
The president's chief medical advisor, Dr. Anthony Fauci, said on Fox News Sunday that it will likely take until the summer for Pfizer, Moderna, and perhaps another option to provide enough vaccine supply for virtually all Americans.
By July, we will have in hand enough vaccine to be able to vaccinate virtually anybody and everybody. It'll be 600 million doses for 300 million people.
Fauci says even now infection numbers are dropping, but warns Americans to not get complacent with mitigation measures like social distancing and mask wearing.
Fox's Gernal Scott. Power capacity in Texas has been fully restored, and any remaining outages will be repaired by late tonight or tomorrow. That according to Texas Governor Greg Abbott, who says some customers are receiving astronomical bills despite the outages.
The Public Utilities Commission is issuing a moratorium on customer disconnections for non-payment, and they are also going to restrict electric providers from sending customers these skyrocketing invoices at this time. The legislature understands the importance of this issue and will work at great speed to fully address it.
Abbott says fixing broken pipes is a priority and that people without insurance can apply for FEMA grants. Calls for impeachment of New York Governor Andrew Cuomo have gained momentum.
On Monday, there are a number of meetings planned, and lawmakers on both sides of the aisle want to talk impeachment. This bipartisan outcry really surrounds a number of issues, everything from that March 25th order regarding COVID patients sent back to nursing homes to delaying the release of nursing home data.
Fox's Aisha Hosni. America is listening to Fox News.
Why are you still going to the post office? Do it all online with Stamps.com. Avoid trips to the post office, print postage, send invoices, letters, or packages, and schedule pickups right from your home or office. 24/7. Get close to 10% off first-class stamps, up to 40% off priority mail, and up to 62% off UPS shipping rates. Go to Stamps.com, click on the microphone, and enter code FOX for a 4-week trial plus free postage and a digital scale. Stamps.com, code FOX.
Confirmation hearings planned this week for President Biden's cabinet picks.
President Biden's nominee for Attorney General Merrick Garland goes before the Senate Judiciary Committee, currently a judge on the U.S. Court of Appeals for the D.C. Circuit. His nomination to the Supreme Court in 2016 was held up by Republicans. California's Attorney General Javier Becerra also expecting to be grilled by Republicans who've criticized his nomination for HHS Secretary, saying that role should be filled by someone with extensive health care experience and not an attorney. The U.S. Senate also votes on Tom Vilsack's nomination for Agriculture Secretary. Jeff Manasso, Fox News.
The grocery chain Kroger, the latest victim of a data breach.
Kroger says it was among the multiple victims of a data breach involving a third-party vendor's file transfer service, and the company says they're notifying potentially impacted customers and offering them free credit monitoring. The Cincinnati-based grocery and pharmacy chain said Friday it believes less than 1% of its customers were affected, specifically some using its health and money services, as well as some current and former employees because a number of personnel records were apparently hacked. Kroger said the breach did not affect Kroger stores' IT systems or grocery store systems or data. The company has 2,750 grocery retail stores nationwide and 2,200 pharmacies. Ted Lindner, Fox News.
A German Shepherd in Scottsdale, Pennsylvania is being credited for catching an intruder.
I'm grateful to have heard from some of our satellite listeners recently. I appreciate knowing that people are out there who like what we do and are willing to support it financially. LRN.FM's free-to-air satellite feeds blanket most of 2 continents. It was my goal to put our channel there so people without internet could receive our programs and feed pirate radio stations. We started a fundraiser on Patreon a few years ago to back the satellite channels. I recently announced that I was considering canceling the feeds, and donations increased from 15 to 20% of our costs, which are around $1,000 per month. That's a good start, and to incentivize more contributions, the Shire Free Church will be matching every dollar. Can we reach $500 per month? With your help, we can. You can join our satellite fundraiser for just $2 a month at fund.lrn.fm. If we raise enough to keep both of the channels on the air, awesome. If we raise more, I'll add more channels. If not, we can shut them down and go internet only. It's up to you. Thank you for your support. fund.lrn.fm.
This is the Onion Week in Review. A study finds that Americans need 6 hours of uninterrupted sleep at work in order to leave the office feeling refreshed and alert. Leading endocrinologists told reporters that more and more people are pulling all-dayers and drinking coffee just to keep themselves awake for meetings and conference calls, and that in order to be properly rested, employees should arrive at work, check their email for a few hours, and be sound asleep by 11:30 a.m. at the very latest.
In order for the body to properly function, adults need to make sure that they're well rested and they're not staying up too late at work.
The Lord our God, divine creator and ruler of the universe, announced Wednesday that he does not consider human beings his most impressive creation, saying instead that mountains are categorically superior in every way. Claiming that mankind was a good creation and worthy of praise, the deity explained that human beings simply pale in comparison to the slopes, valleys, and sheer magnitude of a snow-capped 20,000-foot mountain, and that while all humans eventually grow old and die, mountains last forever.
This is the Onion News Network.
Free Talk Live.
Free Talk Live. Call in, talk about whatever's on your mind. Been having some phone issues, but I promise I'll get to you. 603-283-6160. 603-283-6160. Here on Free Talk Live, it's Mark with you.
Peakless Mountaineer.
And Richie Rich.
We're currently discussing this idea of an intentional corporate community being created out in Nevada.
Innovation Zone.
And I just wanted to, since Scott brought it up, this is one of the two things where I honestly think that someone is really, really listening to us libertarians and going, how can I use this for fascism? So, I mean, these two things are exactly what we always talk about, only, twisted for evil.
Right. I don't know if that's the case, and I don't know if this law is even going to get passed. Is there another nugget in here that you want to get out?
I can keep going a little bit. It has not yet been introduced to the legislature.
No.
But
it's introduced by the governor, so it has some legs.
Pitched it in his State of the State address back in January 19th. The plan would bring in new businesses at the forefront of groundbreaking technologies without the use of tax abatements or other publicly funded incentive packages that previously helped Nevada attract companies like Tesla. So
I like this because it increases the idea of intentional communities. I think that's good.
And here's one you might like, Peakless. Blockchains LLC, a company that has committed to developing a smart city in the area east of Reno after legislation has passed, was named by the governor.
Yep.
So there you go.
So
Crypto getting involved.
I hope that these turn out great. I do not have a great deal of a hope for the whole thing. I don't know what's going to happen.
Well, if
got
it
huge
passes,
problems as far as what water goes.
If it passes, honestly, I think that you're going to see a variety of outcomes. So, there is going to be some of the, nightmare level science fiction stuff when Google sets up town. And there's
but they
also
said they
going
weren't going to be evil. Remember?
They've dropped that a long time ago.
Yeah, but they said it.
And there's nothing quite as patriotic as the USA Patriot Act.
So again, the beautiful thing about it is you have Nevada doing it, right? And any corporation can get involved. So all the
any tech corporation.
Whatever. Sure. I mean, just change your purpose of your corporation to tech. Throw tech in the title, right? Why not? If you have the money. But my point is you'll have like Nevada allowing all of these experimental zones, right? Which is what a lot of the goals of, Choose Your Move Here project wants to do is we have this zone where the government is off our back and we can do, the free market activities to prove that type of governance works. And then expand out. And if you don't like Google City, well, then maybe Amazon is doing something different, or Facebook is doing something.
I completely agree. If this passes, you're going to see a variety of different outcomes.
And isn't that what we want? We want the variety so we can see what works and build off of that.
So I think that there's a whole bunch of things. This is the space that I've been working in for the last at least a year, trying to grow this, because I do think that zones will help us. First off, I think that not a state, because states are controlled by and large by the federal government, but in fact, an Indian tribe is probably the best bet inside the United States. If you don't want to move to the U.S. Marianas, which I believe to be the freest place in the U.S.,
inside the geographic sort of area, not so much the political area, because they are their own country.
They're a territory. You're talking about U.S. Marianas?
No, I'm talking about the
Indian tribes.
Yes.
So Indian tribes are a nation, but they have some. There's controls over them that are federal, and there's some things that they can't do, but there's many things that they can. And I've said many times on the air, I believe that it's the Indians that'll save us, because for one, they have the kryptonite, the Democrats, the control freaks, these SJWs, the woke people. They have the kryptonite that they wither in front of, which is they are the most vilified underclass. Okay.
They win the oppression Olympics.
Right. And so,
were you enslaved for a little while? Trail of Tears.
Right. And when you can find an Indian tribe that is free market, has Austrian economists on their economic board, and has sovereign control of territory, and all these things.
So where is this imaginary Indian tribe?
I cannot tell you. But I can tell you that work has already started, and that I am integrally involved.
Okay.
That's like I am on the team that is implementing.
Okay.
So it's not like I'm watching, I'm doing.
Okay, but so I don't want if you can't break specifics, but you found like an Indian tribe that has studied Austrian economics and is free market based?
Yes.
Okay. Well,
one of them is an Austrian economist professor.
Okay, fantastic.
Right. I mean, so this is a huge leap forward, right?
I'm more interested than I was a minute ago.
Right. And
I'm stifling myself from breaking FCC regulations in order to express my excitement.
Yahoo will do.
Yahoo.
Now,
Yee, and furthermore, ha.
Right. Both of them. Yee hee hee ha ha ha. So then you have to ask yourself this, and this is something that libertarians do not ask themselves. What is freedom actually worth? Because there are free places on the globe right now. You can go to what?
Somalia?
No.
Oh.
No place where there's people.
Not for a long time, actually.
Go to Antarctica, and you're free.
No. No.
Well, you can.
Not only are you not free to do that, but if you don't do that in exactly the right way, not only will you have the U.S. after you, you will have everybody after you.
You can
just wait till you take COVID to Antarctica.
You'll basically be no one will care.
Actually.
Oh, okay.
No one will care that you're doing it, as opposed to there's probably a law, right? Well, you go on a sailboat. How's this? You'll basically only be subject to maritime law. And you could do sovereign banking via internet transactions out there, declare yourself a nation. You won't be there for you just move around. You could
seasteading's a thing. That's,
yeah, well, what happened to the people that set up a seastead 13 miles outside of Thailand? I believe they had a hit put out of them by the Taiwanese king.
Do we have an update on that? I never heard. I know they escaped for a little bit.
Thai king.
Okay.
They're doing just fine down in Linton Bay, Panama, and I'm keeping a eye on that project too.
The problem
they bought and sold a cruise ship recently.
Yeah, the problem with either seasteading or just going full pirate, and we've got a little boat somewhere where we just transact very effectively. If you are too successful, you are too vulnerable. You will get raided.
It's a possibility, certainly.
Trade your fish for cannons.
That's one of the fears that people have out there. So, and for one, let's also consider we are a land-based monkey. Like this primate was evolved for the land, not for the water. I get seasick. I got a sailboat and I get seasick. It's just not nice. And that's a reality. Also, but if you're under the, consider that the word sovereign is very slippery. I only believe there's 3 sovereign entities in the world: United States, China, and Russia. And Russia, maybe not.
And only as an entity, because not the people within it.
Absolutely. These are the organizations, not the people. So, but there are things that call themselves sovereign countries, and if you can get under one of their banners, you'll never get let into the UN.
Pretty sure they still have people they answer to.
They do. I would agree. But
China, Russia.
I'm saying China, Russia, and the United States.
Oh, okay.
I'm pretty sure they still have people they answer.
Get Scott back on the phone.
There may be some.
That is not what I'm referring to.
They could break those chains if they wished, and they do not, because the benefits they get from their interconnected relationships with, people who have lots of money or whatever, are worth enough to them that they do follow orders. I'm thinking Davos and the Bilderbergers and these sorts of people. Those people are very influential. They don't have meetings for no reason, but they are not sovereign either. They have to listen to these governments who have the big guns that can still blow up their families.
They still have more freedom than the average person, though, just by virtue of their position.
Money is freedom. There's no doubt about that. Or it's not freedom, but it's a close analog. 603-283-6160. 603-283-6160. Free Talk Live.
Look, I'm sorry, but you're in for a world of pain if you use Coinomi. The reason is their wallet doesn't support payments. The solution is simple. Let them hear your voice. Message Coinomi on Twitter, it takes 5 seconds, and tell them AnyPay sent you, because they're on the fence right now, and your voice will prove that people care about using Bitcoin for payments. Go tweet at Coinomi now. Or even better, leave a review in the App Store. They really pay attention there. Thanks.
There are lots of ways to listen to Free Talk Live. Our podcast has been around since podcasts began, and now the FTL feed is loaded with content besides our full show archives. Did you know that we make it easy for you to customize your podcast subscriptions? We have different feeds, one that includes only our full shows, one with just the Daily Digest, and our main feed that includes everything. You decide what you listen to. It's quick and easy to customize your feeds at feeds.freetalklive.com. That's feeds.freetalklive.com.
What if the United States and the Soviet Union had fought on land, sea, air, and the astral plane, struggled for dominion across parallel dimensions or on the surface of the moon? What wonders would have been unveiled? What terrors would have haunted mankind from those dark and dismal dimensions? Come closer, peer through a glass darkly, and discover the horrifying alternative visions of World War III from some of today's greatest minds in science fiction, fantasy, and horror. Weird World War III. Available now from Baen Books at baenbooks.com.
Are you tired of governments murdering people around the world? Stop using their money. There is an alternative. Bitcoin is a stateless, free market, non-political currency. Bitcoin cannot be inflated or controlled by any government. By using their money, you are helping the state. Stop doing it. You have an incredible alternative available now. Learn it, use it, spread it.
Get started with Bitcoin at bitcoin.com. That's bitcoin.com.
The Free State Project has reached its goal of 20,000 liberty lovers who've pledged to move to New Hampshire and get active to achieve liberty in our lifetime. Perhaps you're trying to figure out what part of New Hampshire should be your destination. If so, consider Keene. You'll find more than 150 reasons to move to Keene at move.freekeene.com. Keene is famous for its historic, publicity-generating activism, as well as being the liberty media capital of the world. It's home to freekeene.com, New Hampshire's destination for liberty activism, news, and opinion. For years, we've been compiling over 150 reasons to move to Keene at move.freekeene.com, where you'll learn about some of what's happening here and what makes Keene a great place to live. If you love liberty, you'll probably enjoy anywhere you end up in the Shire. But do your due diligence first. Please visit move.freekeene.com for the full list of over 150 reasons to move to Keene. That's move.freekeene.com. What if you want to hear the latest episode of Free Talk Live, but all you have is your phone, you forgot to download our archive, and you have no data connection? You can call our Listen line at 641-793-0191. That's a long-distance number, so you may incur charges. If not, listen as long as you want. 641-793-0191. The Free Talk Live Listen line, 641-793-0191.
There are basically two types of advertising, direct response and branding. Radio's great for direct response with its low cost to listener ratio, but audio can't be beat for branding, which is a longer-term endeavor. You want to be the first thing that someone thinks of when they think about your product or service. If you have a local business that you want kept top of mind in your community, call the station. If you need national reach, Free Talk Live's got around 200 radio stations, millions of monthly listening sessions, can suit all budgets, and if we don't think we're right for you, we'll tell you. Email me, mark@freetalklive.com.
Don't miss a moment of Free Talk Live. Get our archives daily via our podcast at feeds.freetalklive.com.
Free Talk Live. Call in. Talk about whatever's on your mind. It's Mark with you.
Beakless Mountaineer.
And Richie Rich.
603-283-6160. That's 603-283-6160. We are talking about literally my favorite topic, which is...
You're welcome.
Good, thank you. Creating free autonomous zones. And because this is the fundamental thing about libertarianism is that I don't care what your opinion is on the government. It doesn't really matter what your opinion is on the government. Do you think Trump should have won? Do you think Biden should have won? Do you think the Democrats are better than Republicans or Republicans are better than the Democrats? I do not care what you think. I really don't. I care what you think my rights should be taken from me. That and this, make no mistake, the government will absolutely, the United States government, I don't know about any place else, but the United States government will not let you set up an autonomous zone within its area. You cannot buy a piece of property and say, hey, we're not going to pay property tax or sales tax or income tax or any of those things to you because we're going to run our own place.
But the state of Nevada might.
No, they will not.
Okay.
They're going to give you the power.
You are still beholden to Nevada state tax and federal tax in these
autonomous
proposed.
Zones. Sure.
Yeah.
So, I don't care about the freedom that Nevada has to have hookers and casinos and weed. None of those things confront me.
Not that one.
Yeah, you may have a preference. That's fine.
No. I'm saying they. Last I heard, I mean, they might have changed since, but last I heard, they had some of the most draconian pot laws in the country.
Well, Vegas, weed's legal right now.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh.
So,
sure, that's not just a city law.
I was referring to Nevada.
I don't know.
Law.
I can't go any further than that, but I know that if you want to smoke weed in Vegas, you can do that. The number 603-283-6160. That's 603-283-6160. If you're holding on the line, continue to hold. I'll get you here coming up in a few moments, and we'll answer. And I got to get your name and all these sorts of things. Things have changed since we recently changed.
Mark
syndicates.
is now the call screener. Free Talk Live.
That's true. So, what I want to have is I want to have, I want to see what happens if you have a jurisdiction that has low to no tax, that has the ability to set up a business with, great ease, the ability to do banking with great ease, without control. Because at this point in the United States, banks and the United States government, they're the same thing. That banks are basically franchises of the Federal Reserve.
All right. So you mentioned Indian casinos. Aside from that, though, or not Indian land, reservations, where else would you have the ability to set up an autonomous zone that doesn't have an overarching governmental structure imposing some sort of restriction on that zone?
International waters.
Honduras.
But then you got the Honduran government.
Nope. Honduras passed a constitutional amendment that legalized experimental economic development zones. They call them ZEDEs. It's obviously in Spanish. That's what they speak in Honduras.
Now, is that an acronym?
Yes. ZEDE is Zona Economica Developa Experimental or something like that.
Nice.
Right.
But with the stroke of a change of the Constitution, poof, it's gone.
The stroke of a change of a constitution isn't exactly the easiest thing to do. I mean, it's the firmest guarantee that you have in this world.
Okay.
Right? I mean, it's
except the United States government wanting something to happen.
So that's the...
I can guarantee the oil will continue to flow in Saudi Arabia.
Agreed. I think that you have to consider...
The spice must flow.
How much the United States would want to go after Honduras in a situation like that. You have to.
That's true.
There's no doubt about that. But it's the freest opportunity we've had thus far. There currently exists one with a building on Roatan. Now, Roatan is an island, and I know it's in the Caribbean. I know the first thing all you Yankees thought was hurricanes, so I'm going to set your mind.
Pirates.
Pirates, no. I mean, there's every place in 2020 was more subject to pirates than they were before because poor people became more desperate around the world. But these are the sorts of pirates that if you leave your boat unattended would come and take things off of it, perhaps the boat itself, but not necessarily, they're not necessarily going to be in a shootout with them or anything like that. We're not talking about Somali pirates here, the Horn of Africa kind of pirates. Caribbean is largely free of that. You had to deal with more of that stuff in the Pacific and Indian Oceans. As a sailor, I know this. What was I saying? The biggest problem? Oh, hurricanes. So the island is facing Roatan, faces east to west, which means that its profile is against where hurricanes come in, which they come from off of Africa westward towards the Caribbean. And so being an island that is like 40 miles long and 2 miles wide, there's a very small profile.
And no nice, convenient mountains.
Oh, no, there are some nice, convenient mountains.
Yeah?
Yeah. I think the mountains on it are almost as they're as tall as some mountains here in New Hampshire. They're it's big. And they speak English. This is huge. If you're looking for if you're an English-speaking libertarian and you want to start a zone someplace, this is an important aspect.
And if you're not an English-speaking libertarian, you have curious choice of radio programs.
Indeed. So hurricanes rarely hit this place. They just don't. It's just positioned in such a way that it just doesn't get hit very often.
Okay.
The Honduran coast is flat, east to west, and it's just not likely to hit there. And they really don't have them. They have storms, but the storms, and while they may scare the Yankees in the crowd, they aren't hurricanes.
So they put up a building.
Yeah, a building exists on the zone, acreage, and the whole deal, and they're moving forward.
Okay.
And their hope is to create medical tourism. So they would have, a situation where you can go get stem cell operations and things like that simply aren't available in, say, the United States because the FDA and the regulatory apparatus is just too big. And they don't want to go through the billions of dollars. So you can go down there and, perhaps do that. Maybe there'll be some opportunity for digital nomads, these kind of things. And once these zones exist, there's already a second zone. Their focus isn't on this particular project, but here's an important aspect. Any one of these zones can incorporate another piece of property that is not necessarily adjacent.
Okay.
So you could have a zone in Ceiba, and then miles away in Roatan, you could have another part of that zone.
And the zone functions the same with the governance of the zone?
Right. The zone's constitution is written and operates. Now, criminal law applies, which, could be worse, but they're cops. Like you have our own security. So,
okay. That patrols the zone.
And this is something like, imagine the cults in the United States. When the police try to go investigate a crime that occurs in these cults, they have a terrible time because they can't get in without permission and, all kinds of things. It gets very complicated.
Good.
Well,
so you could have a security force without qualified immunity.
Agreed. And that's what you want, is you want them to be responsible for their actions. And that's going to take us a long way towards freedom. Just the security force being responsible for their actions instead of just being able to do what they want and hide behind the union. 603-283-6160. Free Talk Live, 603-283-6160.
This is Michael Dean from the Freedom Fiends. I've run websites since 1996 and have used over a dozen web hosts in that time. AgristHosting.com is the only one that hasn't broken my heart. Agrist Hosting's uptime and service is stellar, and their DDoS mitigation is the best I've seen. That's important because if you tell the truth in this world, you'll ruffle feathers. And some people will try dirty tricks to silence your voice. No matter what the haters hit us with, Agrist Hosting keeps our websites online. If you have a mission-critical commercial presence or a world-changing activism site, you cannot tolerate any skullduggery. So go with agrishosting.com. Have a WordPress or blog site, but you're not satisfied with performance or uptime? Or just want raw hosting? Want to pay with Bitcoin? Agris Hosting specializes in high-performance hosting with personalized service. Go to agrishosting.com and click on the button that says Get Hosted. That's agrishosting.com.
We have some good news. The indictments against Ross Ulbricht in the District of Maryland were dismissed with prejudice, meaning they can never be refiled. This is especially good because those indictments contain the only charge ever made that Ross engaged in murder for hire. This was a serious allegation that Ross Ulbricht denies. It was never prosecuted or ruled on by a jury, but was trumpeted by the federal government and the media as if it were proven fact. The Maryland court held these indictments for almost 5 years, poisoning Ross's case and leaving him under a cloud of unproven allegations. As explained in Ross's appeal to the Supreme Court, the fact that the judge used these allegations to give Ross a draconian sentence of double life without parole violated his Sixth Amendment right to a jury trial. Judges are required to issue sentences based on convictions decided by a jury, not unproven allegations never even charged at trial. Although this is a positive development, the dropped indictment will not set Ross free. Now, a presidential pardon is Ross's only hope of freedom. Sign the petition at freeross.org. freeross.org.
Looking for a great real estate investment? Consider New Hampshire, which is ground zero for the Liberty Movement. Your first call should be to Mark Worden from Porcupine Real Estate. He's more than just a real estate agent. He's your New Hampshire concierge. Where are the best places to live? Do you want farm, city, the burbs, or forest? Do you want a duplex or multifamily building so that renters pay your mortgage? There are homes in all price ranges in New Hampshire, and Mark can help with financing too. Invest in Liberty and property. Mark Worden can help.
PorcupineRealEstate.com. Tired of cancel culture? Sick of mega tech corporations holding an axe over your head? Join the LRN.FM Matrix chat server. It's self-hosted, so no one else can tell us what to do or say. Don't like the existing channels? You can make your own. You can even connect into some of our channels from other Matrix servers. It's federated. For the full LRN.FM Matrix experience, though, you should join our server via the step-by-step instructions at chat.lrn.fm. chat.lrn.fm. Join liberty-minded voluntarists, anarchists, and libertarians from June 28th through July 4th for ForkFest 2021 at Rogers Campground in the beautiful White Mountains of New Hampshire. ForkFest happens the week after the Porcupine Freedom Festival, and ForkFest is decentralized, which means no one is in charge. That also means there's no ticket cost. Just reserve your camping, RV site, or motel room with Rogers Campground for June 28th through July 4th. Where better to celebrate Independence Day than around other freedom-loving activists in the Shire? You can relax and enjoy the camaraderie of like-minded people, or you can create whatever experience or event you'd like others to have. If you're planning an event for ForkFest, be sure to let others know in advance. You can connect with fellow ForkFesters via the unofficial Telegram chat or the ForkFest forum. Links to those are on the unofficial website, forkfest.party. Mark your calendar for June 28th through July 4th, 2021. We'll see you at forkfest.party.
We're still not sure why you'd want to watch, but our video feed is streaming nightly for free at cam.freetalklive.com.
Talk Live. Call in, talk about whatever you want to talk about. That's what we do here on Free Talk Live. We've got kind of an ongoing conversation that we're talking about tonight regarding sort of places in the world that may be created in the future where people can be more free. And freedom is defined by libertarians as, hey guys, anybody want to field this?
Non-aggression principle?
The ability to do what you want.
So long as you don't infringe on other people's rights.
So long as you don't harm other people or steal from them. You've got to honor your word and, not harm people. Now, the defensive harm would be acceptable.
Don't hit people. Don't threaten to hit them. Don't take their stuff. Don't take their stuff under threat of hitting them.
It is like the definition of government, right? Like, that's what it does. It says you give us...
It violates all of that.
You give us your stuff or we will hit you.
Well, yeah. It's not the only thing that they do, but it is the one thing that makes them different.
Right. What defines a nation state? This is I can do it in my Barack Obama voice and quote him. What defines a nation state is the monopoly on violence. And that he said it because that's what it is.
Yep.
What defines a nation state, or a city state for that matter, a state? A state is an organization that claims a monopoly privilege on the use of violence in a given landmass, whether that's South Carolina or Nevada or whatever. Now, the United States government, Washington, D.C., has become an overlying federal state upon a state. So now we have layers of government. If you live in a homeowners association, you've got above you the federal government, the UN, the federal government, your state government, your county government, your city government, and the homeowners association. And it's no wonder that the middle class is beginning to crumble. They've got to support all these shiftless government bureaucrats who provide nothing.
And this is in complete opposition to a prevailing theory at the foundation of, when we stopped having a king, which was the idea that government doesn't come from the top down, but that the just powers come from the bottom to the top.
Right. What is it from Monty Python? Supreme executive power comes from a mandate of the people, not some farcical aquatic, what was it, ceremony? I couldn't remember. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Ladies in ponds throwing out scimitars is no basis for...
It's got to be a better basis for government than what we've got. Like, literally, a woman in a pond handing out a sword would be a better form of government than what the hell went on in November 2020.
Yeah, and that's one thing that really covers my opinion about the Nevada possibility is, like, don't get me wrong, I am skeptical of the idea of, say, Google doing a good job of, having the power to tax.
Look, and
that being said, it can't be worse than what we're doing now.
Part of me throws it out because it doesn't have to be Google, Facebook, Microsoft, or Apple, right?
Like $250 million
understood.
In the bank.
Get the nerds from Reddit to make us all some money, and we can incorporate a tech company with the money won on Wall Street bets.
Yeah, that whole thing that happened in Reddit last month was so
there were overnight
random
millionaires.
And unlikely. Yeah, no doubt. No overnight millionaires, but random and unlikely. Let's go to the phones. We got the Cedar Savage calling in from northern Michigan. Do they have cedars in northern Michigan?
Taking my call.
Yeah.
Am I on? Can you hear me?
Are there cedars in northern Michigan?
No, but they're savages.
Oh. Well, that of which I have no doubt.
Yeah, there's red cedars, white cedars. There's black ash, white ash. We got all the ash. But the bugs are killing them, and them come from China, too.
Those are the borers.
Sounds like a fun club.
I digress.
Yep.
All right. So, oh, hell, boys. I don't know which way you want me to bounce this ball here. I got so many thoughts on my marble. The roulette wins.
I'm curious about it. Like, the government has managed to take complete control from the nation. The idea that parents should teach their kids at this point has been turned on its head.
Here, I got it back on the line here. I called in probably 6 months ago, and I explained to you guys why towns were 20 miles apart. Because that's about how far you go to horse and wagon with your family during the day. And I got thinking about that a little more, and schoolhouses were about 5 miles apart.
Okay.
Right? And you only had to have a school marm, paid, what? Well, back in the day, $500.
An apple?
I mean, a cowhand only got $30 a month.
Okay.
Right? And I could, off of my estate here, I mean, it ain't much of a...
Hold on, back on your phone here, Cedar Savage.
Pepper.
Hold on, you got muffled there for a second.
All right, so I myself here, even though I do not send any children to school in this district,
you sure
but
pay
I am
for
paying
it.
property tax.
Yeah,
I would
correct.
be more than happy to volunteer the timber to build this schoolhouse. And I'm sure I got neighbors that would, and I'm a carpenter, so I could build the frickin' thing by myself, but I can't saw the trees, and I can't provide the concrete. But I'm sure there are people that would donate to such a cause to have their children educated by somebody that was accountable to them and not have government school books handed out to them that distorted and lied about our history.
Well, it'd be difficult to pull that off.
Us.
Yeah, the really tough part, I think, is the
acclamation.
teachers union. I mean, at this point, if you I don't know that you could even set up your own community school in most states. I don't know, but I would
it would
think
just
it would
be a
difficult.
private school, or
Yeah,
I'll
but
say
then
the
people-
same. I'll say the same thing for teachers that I will for police or for anything else for that matter. If you want them to be accountable, you have to be able to fire them.
Yes, and the public sector unions make it extraordinarily difficult to fire people, and people who are unaccountable act in irresponsible fashions. And I'm not saying that every government school teacher out there is a terrible person by any stretch of the imagination, but if they are, good luck firing them. It's not easy.
Yeah.
And knowing that those are the type of people that migrate to those types of jobs.
Well, I've been working pretty much under the table my whole life. And
Hold on, what?
Many times hollering out
He's been
onion
working
meeting.
under the table his whole life.
Go ahead, Cedar Savage.
Onion meeting. Off the grid. That's not union. That's onion. We go underground.
Okay.
Like the Tor server?
Right.
Is that what we're talking about here?
No, just another word for union, like going
I see.
underground and taking out of that. But again, if you wanted to build your own community school, you could absolutely do so. In doing so, though, you're not going to remove the burden of paying for the public school in that community anyway.
Right. So 49 out of 50 states specifically say, as I understand it, I haven't, I'm not a constitutional theorist, and I have not read every state constitution, but as it has been explained to me, 49 out of 50 states specifically say that public school is a right. And the 50th state, New Hampshire, their Supreme Court in 1995, 6, 7, somewhere around there, said that their clause that said that we cherish our public schools and seminaries meant that public schools are right, but seminaries certainly weren't. And
how you figure that one?
You're not a
It's a
butt-kissing
living
lawyer.
document.
Right. You're not a butt-kissing lawyer that managed to get the highest levels of government.
Okay.
Because those are the only ones that would ever get there.
Well, and here's
Is there
the thing.
a comma
So
before the
he's
and?
talking about like, okay, well, we could do a school and not get taxed to pay for this other school. Well, okay, remember just a little while back, I know it seems like an eternity ago, when we had the government shutdown. Did anyone get a discount on their taxes that year?
No, the teachers got paid the same, and they don't want to go back to school.
Yeah,
Well,
they're
of course
fighting
they
to
don't.
not go back
Right,
and still
and-
collect a paycheck.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, there's no discount for the taxpayer for getting less service. And
should be.
Lots of people lost their jobs during this time frame.
Class action lawsuit against the state.
Well, good luck. You stay here and fight that.
Yeah,
No,
and
I'm not gonna.
Which courts are you going to go to for that?
Right.
I'm sure you'll get justice in there. So
Look, we've talked about this off the air. I mean,
There are places in the United States where if you want to step into their little political zone, you have to be incarcerated in a hotel. But it's, they call it voluntary, but the option is jail. The other option is jail. So you have to be incarcerated in a hotel without habeas corpus for X amount of days. Who's going to do anything about that? Clearly not the courts.
the people.
Right, duh. Come
Rising
on.
up.
Never. 603-283-6160.
For ages, scientists have associated the Earth's cosmic location with a wide spectrum of interstellar phenomena. But a study from the International Astronomical Union says that not only is the Earth far from the most interesting part of the cosmos, but is in fact located in the lamest, least awesome part of the universe.
We're billions of light years away from any supermassive black holes, interstellar explosions, or really anything even moderately cool. Our nebula just sucks so hard in comparison to some of the things out there.
Not only is the planet Earth and its solar system, quote, basically the most boring region of the entire universe, but a number of irregularly shaped galaxies illuminated in the Hubble Ultra Deep Field prove to be infinitely cooler than any of the weak-ass, boring-as phenomena occurring in the Milky Way.
I mean, there's a black hole out there that weighs 21 billion solar masses, and it's 336 million light years away. Our black hole? It couldn't tear a mid-sized star apart. We're the cosmic equivalent of a cul-de-sac.
This is the Onion News Network.
Are you tired of governments around the world killing innocent people? Stop using their money. There is an alternative. Bitcoin is a stateless, free market, non-political currency. Bitcoin is money that cannot be inflated or controlled by any state. By continuing to use their money, you're perpetuating the killing. Stop doing it.
You have an incredible alternative available to you now. Learn it, use it, spread it.
Get started with Bitcoin at Bitcoin.com. It's Bitcoin.com.
Some of you asked, and now we've delivered. LRN.FM's live Keene, New Hampshire studio shows are now streamed in HD on Twitch. Visit our channel at twitch.lrn.fm and give it a follow. If you have Amazon Prime, you get one free subscription on Twitch. If you use it on our channel, Twitch will give LRN.FM a monthly piece of your Prime subscription cost. So please watch, follow, share, and subscribe to twitch.lrn.fm. That's twitch.lrn.fm.
A congressman recently revealed that legislation totaling 2,900 pages and involving more than $1 trillion was available to members of Congress for less than 48 hours to study and consider. That's over 60 pages of legislation per hour. Do you think anyone read the entire bill? I'm Jim Babka with DownsizeDC.org. Consider a proposal buried in a 3,200-page, $388 billion bill, which would have empowered committee chairmen or their agents to examine Americans' tax returns. When this horrible provision came to light, no one claimed to know how it got into the bill. One congressman questioned said, "I didn't write it, I didn't approve it, I wasn't even consulted." If your attorney represented you this way, he might be disbarred. But this is how Congress represents you every day. That's why DownsizeDC.org has created the Read the Bills Act. You can force Congress to read their bills before they pass them at DownsizeDC.org.
So you've heard all 3 hours of the latest episode of Free Talk Live, and you're still hungry for liberty-oriented audio content? Did you know that we have another 24/7 audio stream at LRN.FM? The Liberty Radio Network airs the latest episodes of some of the best liberty-oriented podcasts on the internet around the clock. In addition to recorded content, you'll also hear live shows like Free Talk Live, originating from our Keene, New Hampshire studio. So listen anytime at LRN.FM. That's LRN.FM. So you've signed the Shire Society Declaration and are planning your move to New Hampshire to be around more liberty-oriented people. Next, sign up for the Shire Society Forum at forum.shiresociety.com. There are a bunch of people there who are already in the Shire, and they want to meet you. If you're already in the Shire physically, you should also come by the forums. Remember, not everyone uses Facebook. New people are signing up for the Shire Society Forum every month, so drop in and say hello at forum.shiresociety.com.
Yep, we still do email. Drop your email address in the entry box at freetalklive.com, and you'll be kept in the loop with Free Talk Live.
Free Talk Live. You can call in, talk about whatever you want to talk about. We've been talking about autonomous governmental zones here, and I think it's important to point out, Christine called in from South Carolina, and she wanted me to sort of simplify the message a little bit. And, it's completely fair. Here's an important thing to note. You cannot buy a piece of land and start your own country here in the land of the free. Have your own tax, have your own tax or lack of a tax.
It's been tried.
Oh, it's been tried many times. And ask yourself why. Why has the government come up with all these taxes to the point that it's really difficult to move out of the lower economic zone, what they call them, quintiles?
Power and control.
Right. The people in power want more money. Who doesn't? Everybody does. But they have the strings of power and know how to get more money by milking it out of you. So, they say it's not the top quintile, which is the top 20%. It's actually the top 1% or top 0.1%, whatever the case may be. I don't know.
Well, honestly, this goes to the Pareto principle. I mean, power is a creative endeavor. So of any quantity that you want to look at, the square root of that number is the ones that have half of it. So if you look at the 300 million Americans, well, the square root of that have half of the power. Now, if you look at that square root of that, it happens again. Okay. So the square root of that number will have half of that power. So 1/4 of the entire power of the United States, and it just goes all the way down.
Yeah.
So the weird dichotomy for libertarians and individual freedom is those people in those upper echelons have the most freedom and liberty, I would argue, and yet libertarians don't want to be those people because they also control too much. But if you want individual
those
liberty,
people control too much, or the libertarians control too much?
Well, those people.
Okay.
Right.
Well,
The people with the most freedom and liberty have all this power and control over the masses, right? But they also have the most freedom and liberty. So
Yeah,
if your personal goal is maximum freedom and liberty, you should aspire and work towards being in those positions.
Yes and no. So, I mean, on the one hand, they do have liberties and freedoms that we don't, absolutely.
100%.
However, there is a very, very specific set of things that they have to keep doing. And if they step outside those lines, they tumble.
Sure.
Well, I mean, they have to support the power structure as it exists, and if they don't, they're going to be in big trouble. But I would say that this. So, for one,
small price to pay for that
Elon
amount of freedom and
Musk
liberty.
and Jeff Bezos and these sorts of people, they don't have to pay any tax, because if you own stock in a company, you can get a collateralized loan against that stock value, and you don't pay tax on a loan. Ladies and gentlemen, you didn't pay tax when you got a mortgage for your house, right? That would be ridiculous that the government taxed you on that. Don't expect that they won't do it in the future, but today they're not doing it. So they're not getting income. They're not taking a check. And if they are taking a check, it's only to hide that they are, oh, yes, I'm paying tax, see?
CEO only takes $1 in paycheck.
Right. They're not paying. They're not getting anything. Why would you? Why would
What a
you do it?
benevolent individual.
Well, see, that's the thing. Ownership, you are responsible and accountable for, whereas exercising exclusive control over things somehow doesn't count as ownership.
And we know when people come in private jets into airports, you've got to go through the blue glove love. I've done this. I've two times managed to fly on a Gulfstream. And it was glorious. I got to tell you, flew from one country to another, and we played poker in the Gulfstream and ate snacks, and they cooked up the stewardess lady cooked up food for us, whatever we wanted. It was amazing.
He had caviar with the blood of the innocent on the side.
Well, it wasn't that,
Okay.
but
The orphan sashimi is quite excellent.
It was so much different than flying in a commercial airline,
Sure.
where you're hurdled in, cattle call, and
You didn't have to pull the cellophane off your meal before you enjoyed it.
they're not telling you got to wear a mask on that plane. They're not telling you anything.
They're starting to loosen that up in first class and business class now.
Oh, well, it already is.
Yeah.
So I'm because I have to fly so much back and forth from New Hampshire to Florida and different places. I am, I got the mileage club thing on United, and I just decided I'd stick with one airline and see if I could see how high I could get as far as their thing.
Smart.
So I get upgraded often to the first class because, somebody didn't buy it, and I'm, the highest on their mileage club thing. So I know what it's like there in the rare air. Now, I will not pay for first class. I have done that one time with the hopes of managing to finagle something, and it did not work.
From the stewardess?
No. Yeah, it didn't work. I'm not going to tell you. It involved a deadhead.
Oh, okay.
Is that what it's called when you stop at one airport and then your flight goes on and you don't go on the flight?
I was thinking of one of the Grateful Dead.
Yeah,
movies.
that was where I was. You just lost both your co-hosts.
Okay.
here.
I had a particular one in mind that I thought you were working around with.
Okay, what were you trying to score some acid out of first class?
So the depending on the stewardess who's serving you in first class, they will often get you a drink before the plane takes off.
Ooh.
So there you have a beverage sitting in front of you, and
That seems just perfectly reasonable. I mean, how many people experience anxiety at takeoff?
right. Well, I'm not talking about
Put a drink in them, they're
alcoholic
fine.
beverage. Well, I'm not. They do have an alcoholic beverage, and you could do that. I am not drinking. So anyway, is all you have to do is have the beverage sitting in front of you. Then you don't have to wear the mask. All the rules are out the window once you have a beverage in front of you.
Sure, but no. But what I'm saying is there are news articles out right now where they're lifting the mask restrictions in first and business class. Like you don't even need the beverage in front of you. They're circulating different air in that part of the cabin that doesn't affect coach, I guess.
I see. So the COVID virus, while incredibly woke on the issues of racism, is a very classist, bourgeois kind of virus.
It is now.
See.
Yeah.
It does not attack the upper class.
If you have, if you watch United's, this is the only airline that I've watched, but United has a video out there, and their claim is, and they will back that claim in a way that I cannot. Their claim is that it is safer on a plane than it is in a doctor's office.
I believe it because all the air gets filtered.
So,
multiple times throughout.
Yeah, I mean they're filtering that air, and you can tell that there's air moving in that airplane all the time.
It's recycled, but it's filtered.
Yeah. I can actually back that one up because I've seen how much the number 3 cause of death in America is medicine.
Right.
So it's not that safe in the doctor's office.
They have air scrubbers. I mean, obviously, the safest thing to do is head out onto a sailboat and sit in calm waters and never talk to another human being again. But if you live in the real world and you know that most of their experiments with restrictions have failed to work, that Florida, which has almost no restrictions, you do not have to wear a mask into a restaurant in Florida.
Well, yes, but their population is all 18-year-olds, right?
Nope, it's 65
80.
plus.
The
people who are most likely to get this. Whereas in California, where they have all the restrictions, they're basically they're neck and neck, and the Florida's demographics are much older. So go figure, people. I don't know why it's true, but it is.
The death curves are pretty amazing
I've got some theories.
Well, what's your theory?
Okay, so I've talked about how wearing a mask is actually a detriment to other people's immune system by hiding your face on this program before. For those who haven't heard this, it's real simple. You can't see behind you. Your body is set up to be aware of whether or not there's a tiger. And if you see a human face, there might be then there is no predator behind you.
Humans are the greatest danger to humans, so you'd want to be able to see the expression, the full expression on that human face to know whether fight or flight should kick in.
And nearly all of our emotional expression is in the mouth area.
Are most people angry over the course of the last year or happy? Ask yourself that.
Who can tell? Terrified, angry.
If they don't know, then they're going to be angry because that's our natural state. You want to be able to fight as quickly as possible.
So, I mean, all of these restrictions are actually, if I could design a program to make people sick, this is what I would do. I would hide people's faces. I would keep you out of the sunlight. I would make sure that your sleeping schedule got screwed up. I would make sure that you didn't get any exercise. I mean, honestly, every single part of this is...
Don't forget the alcohol. This extreme amount of alcohol. America is consuming significantly more alcohol than it was.
Oh, yeah.
And I saw it in myself and decided, whoa, this is a downward turn. I got to arrest it.
So rather than...
just for good measure, we'll make sure that you're not getting good food.
So rather than a mask mandate, it should be a clear face shield mandate then.
Honestly, that would be a huge improvement.
Or one of those neck bubbles where it's clear in the front, but it protects everything in on your face.
It'd be better to see people's faces, that's for sure. The number, well, your thoughts are welcome. 603-283-6160. That's 603-283-6160.
Divvy's been a pretty good investment for Free Talk Live. Their ad campaign started in September 2019, and from mid-March to mid-July, the values soared by 10 times. It's not too late. Divvy's new wallet hasn't even released yet, and other things are happening that I can't even say on the radio. If you want to invest and potentially do well, go to DivvyProject.org. I can tell you that FTL is deepening its partnership with the guys from DivvyProject.org. Past performance is not an indication of future profit. DivvyProject.org. DIVI Project.org.
Want to accept Bitcoin at your online store? There's a good chance you already have what you need: a WordPress using WooCommerce and a Bitcoin address. Now all you need to start taking Bitcoin payments on your website is the AnyPay app on your Android or iPhone. Just paste your Bitcoin address into AnyPay, then connect it to your website with our one-click plugin for WordPress. Now your website takes Bitcoin, start to finish in 15 minutes or less with no complicated steps. Download AnyPay from the App Store today.
The new 4th edition of Healing Our World, The Compassion of Libertarianism will take your understanding of liberty to a deeper level and has over 1,300 updated references, new cartoons, and a foreword by Dr. Ron Paul. With discounts for multiple book purchases, the 4th edition of Healing Our World is a great gift for the liberals, pragmatists, environmentalists, and Christians in your life who think libertarianism is cold-hearted. Get yours today at healing.freetalklive.com and use promo code FTL for a $5 discount. If you want to know the latest about Free Talk Live before we go on the air, all you need to decide is how you want it delivered. It's your choice. Visit news.freetalklive.com to receive our usually weekly news updates by email. Plus, we have a Twitter account at twitter.freetalklive.com, and you can follow us on the decentralized Mastodon platform at toot.freetalklive.com. So please follow us at toot.freetalklive.com and sign up for our emails at news.freetalklive.com.
You're listening to the live edition of Free Talk Live. Hour number 3 is next after the news here on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
A major carrier pulls some planes from its fleet. I'm Joe Chiro, Fox News. United Airlines says it's grounding 24 Boeing 777s with certain Pratt & Whitney engines. The FAA had issued an emergency airworthiness directive following yesterday's engine failure of a United 777 in Denver. United is the only U.S. carrier flying the 777 with those specific engines. A Denver suburb was strewn with debris after that engine failure. No one was hurt, and the plane was able to return safely to the airport. Texas Governor Greg Abbott says power generation has been fully restored in the state, but some outages remain following last week's storm.
The ability for power to be generated in the state of Texas is at full capacity. As of about an hour ago, there still remained about 30,000 Texans who did not have access to power. If they did not have access to power, the reason for it is because of their local power provider, where they still need to get hookups or there could be power lines down.
Houston lifted its boil water notice, but it remains in effect for some other parts of the state. The Senate begins confirmation hearings Monday for President Biden's Attorney General nominee, Merrick Garland.
Starting Monday, the Senate will hold 2 days of hearings examining Merrick Garland's record, beliefs, and his plans for the Justice Department. In 1997, Garland was confirmed to the U.S. Court of Appeals for the D.C. Circuit, a job he still has today. In 2016, Garland was nominated by then-President Obama to the Supreme Court. You may remember Senate Republicans refused to consider Garland, though, citing the upcoming election. In his opening statement, Garland is expected to talk about what he'll work on right away, including prosecuting those people responsible for the January 6th Capitol attack.
Fox's Mark Meredith. America is listening to Fox News.
I don't know who needs to hear this, but here you go. You deserve to feel better than you do today. And you can with Headspace. They make meditation simple. Headspace is the one of the only meditation apps advancing the field of mindfulness and meditation through clinically validated research and can reduce stress, improve sleep, boost focus, and increase your overall sense of well-being. Go to headspace.com/Fox for a free 1-month trial. This is the best deal offered right now. Headspace.com/Fox.
The head of one of America's largest teachers' unions says more should be done to prioritize teacher vaccinations as part of reopening schools. More from Fox's Gernal Scott.
Randy Weingarten, president of the American Federation of Teachers, says her organization is not against restarting in-person education. She said on NBC's Meet the Press that what teachers want is the testing and measures that others have used.
If the NFL could figure out how to do this in terms of testing and the protocols, if schools are that important, let's do it. And my members want it. They just want to be safe.
Weingarten singles out cities such as Washington, D.C. and New York and states like West Virginia and Ohio for putting teachers and school staff as priorities for vaccines. Gernal Scott, Fox News.
Stay away, says the mayor of a French city. Fox's Karen McHugh explains why.
The weather in Nice is nice, but that's a problem right now for the French city on the Mediterranean. An influx of visitors during the Christmas holidays resulted in a huge uptick in coronavirus cases. Nice has the highest number of infections per capita in France, over 700 cases for every 100,000 residents per week. So now the city's mayor is telling his countrymen and the world to stay away from the vacation spot. Christian Estrosi telling France Info Radio that his people will be happy to receive.
Why did you move to the Shire?
I moved here to the Shire because there's other people around who take liberty just as seriously as I do.
I moved to the Shire because I saw videos of people challenging authority and thought that I could get support myself. It called to me, like, do this right now.
I wanted to be around people like me who got it. And once I got here, I knew there was nowhere else that I wanted to be.
I've always wanted to change the world. So I moved to the Shire to join people who were actually working towards doing the same thing.
The people here are awesome, loving, and positive. It was for the adventure and for the feeling of something important is happening here. And I just wanted to come to sort of be part of that.
Visit ShireSociety.com to read and sign the Shire Society Declaration and learn the reasons why, if you love liberty, you should immigrate to the Shire. Plus, connect with others via the forum at ShireSociety.com. That's ShireSociety.com.
This is the Onion Week in Review. Allentown, Pennsylvania 5-year-old Trisha Billings announced from her dining room Saturday that the circle was no longer her favorite shape. The landmark declaration comes just days after the 5-year-old changed her favorite color from red to purple. While experts have struggled to determine what Billings' interim favorite shape will be, the 5-year-old assured reporters that the majority of her favorite things will remain consistent for the time being. Disney executives revealed in an interview Friday that all of the company's animated and live-action movies take place in a single unified universe, saying Never Never Land is actually mere minutes away from the jungle where Timon, Pumbaa, and Simba danced in a straight line and sang Hakuna Matata. Company heads stated that every character from Air Bud to Jiminy Cricket all inhabit the same interconnected world, just as Walt Disney envisioned it.
A lot of people don't know this, but Daryl Hannah's character in Splash actually lives in the exact same coral reef where Nemo went missing. And if filmmakers so desired, they could have Princess Jasmine, for example, hop into Herbie Fully Loaded to go watch the Jonas Brothers 3D concert experience.
Free Talk Live.
It is Free Talk Live, and I stand by that. You are free to call in and talk live here on the airwaves, unless you have like a court order that says you can't. I don't know. The number 603.
You know who we're talking about.
283-6160. That's 603-283-6160. It's Mark with you.
Peakless Mountaineer.
And Richie Rich.
Call in, talk about whatever you want to talk about, because that's what we do here on Free Talk Live. I think we've wrapped up this whole special governance autonomous zone conversation, and I want to go into this article from Time, which I think every American should read.
Oh, yeah.
But it's
and
just...
good luck getting through the entire thing.
It's too... Well, you can if you commit to it.
You got to commit to it.
You have to commit to it.
Honestly, I don't think that the editor took anything out of this. It's almost like they designed it so no one actually they go into it at one point like, and here is Little League tactics that this person endorsed. Like, serious.
The secret history of the shadow campaign that saved the 2020 election.
Ooh.
So this is Time magazine.
Saved the 2020 election?
Well,
for whom?
This is basically the ends justify the means kind of article. So it's okay that a shadow campaign took over the election, and I don't know, fixed isn't the right term, stacked against, whatever.
Okay. I think I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
It was basically, there was claims being made for the longest time that there was, the secret cabal working behind the scenes, and it was, no, you stupid conspiracy theorist, that's not a thing. And then this is the article that Time created that admitted it just to get Trump out of office.
Yeah, and that to me is the most amazing thing about this. Like, the fact that this article exists somewhere doesn't impress me at all. The fact that this was Time magazine, and they start out with like secret and shadow campaign in the title.
Time magazine debunked the whole feminist women earn 73 cents on the dollar that men do thing They debunked like 5 feminist myths debunked or something. No one cares. I mean, like, people consume the news that they want to hear. I try to consume news that I do not want to hear, so that my opinion can constantly be growing.
Well, and that's also why, getting to call back to the earlier conversation, that's why social media works as a bubble. Because you get fed the news you want to hear, you get blocked the news you don't want to hear, and it just regurgitates.
Honestly, that was one of the most disheartening things for me, is that this information was widely available to people, basically telling them, hey, this is an echo chamber that we have designed for you.
Yeah, that's what it is.
But people want it. And the market has decided.
Yeah, people stayed on it, kept going to it. All right, so before we get into the...
No, I'm going to go to the call here. Let's go to Robert in South Carolina, wants to talk about predatory animals. Robert, you're on Free Talk Live.
Yes, I just wanted to say that I understood what you were speaking about before, predatory animals versus animals of prey. Actually, human beings are a combination of the two because we're omnivores. True. Predatory animals are normally meat eaters or that kind of thing, and animals of prey are the kinds of are generally vegetarians. But in our society, of course, being humans, we are adjusted actually to both to a degree. But basically, see, we're animals of prey in terms of our eyes, because they both face forward, as you were saying, and give us stereoscopic vision.
That's predatory.
Which is better for fighting,
yep.
But not so good for figuring out if there's somebody behind us or on the side of us,
right.
Because of the fact that's where animals of prey are better, because they have in a lot of cases almost 360-degree vision.
Right. So a deer, for instance, has its eyes on the side of its head. It can't like look at something and tell the depth of where it is, but it can definitely see movement, especially lateral movement,
and get away from it
from a very large angle. This is true for many birds and a variety of things. However, if you look at, say, lions or eagles, their eyes are going to be much more forward-facing, so they can get that telescopic, as you use the term, Robert.
Explains why vegans are so weird-looking.
Vegans are they're just omnivores that are choosing not to eat meat. And, I think that in their defense, I would say that the amount of meat that you need in your diet is significantly less than the average American gets.
And our biology does support the nature of our omnivore diet. So if you look at the human mouth, we have a Swiss Army mouth, essentially. Yeah. It's not specialized for anything. We've got the meat-tearing canines, we've got the leaf-biting incisors, we've got the grain-grinding molars, everything.
Yep. Go ahead, Robert.
It's my turn to speak?
It is yours.
Okay.
Sorry.
So anyhow, with regard to our society, you were also talking about nations. Why can't we break up and form our own little nation? The problem is, if everybody broke up and formed their own little nation, we would be victims of the outside world. In other words, they would say, okay, these guys are breaking up into little pieces, but let us grab a little piece too. And they would use their advantage of sticking together and become... And we would become their prey, and they would become predators of ours, because it works that way on a nation basis as well. I do believe that. How do you feel about that? You see that as equal?
The strength in numbers sort of thing?
Historically, I would say that's true, but if look up on the internet, why does Belgium exist, and these sorts of things. And Belgium is a big country compared to, say, Andorra or Liechtenstein or Luxembourg.
I don't think you have to incorporate as a nation to have collective defense of your geographic area.
No, I think that Robert's point is very valid. However, the world has changed dramatically, barring, say, Russia taking over Crimea recently, and China's constant voracious taking of land on its borders, basically from everybody.
That's just a
possibly
cultural
can.
thing.
Well,
yeah, right, it's just cultural.
If you want to keep a large country from preying upon you, all you need is one ICBM with a nuke.
Well, there's very few places that have an ICBM, intercontinental ballistic missile. But yes, you're right. I don't think you even need an ICBM. I think you just need the nuke.
Well, actually, it's international agreements for mutual protection that provide that, and that's the societal aspect of it. Because we never have to use those thermonuclear weapon systems, nor do we have to use anything that results on any other kind of mass murder.
Well, I think it was the mutually assured destruction that caused those international agreements to actually function, because the world wars were set in motion because of those international mutual defense agreements.
Well, the World War I certainly was. World War II, I don't think quite as much.
It's also why it's so important for Iran and North Korea to like establish their nuclear power so they can stop getting harassed by the United States. And
I don't want them to have
nuclear
them,
powers
though, I gotta say
only
that.
go to proxy wars.
Sure. But if they want to get stopped being harassed by the United States federal government and the military, right, they have to do something to get on the same level.
Yep.
Well, World War II really could have been prevented if we had stuck to those kinds of arrangements, because the Nazis would never have come to power if Great Britain and France hadn't basically taken everything from Germany. They cut down the forest, they took everything that Germany has and caused hyperinflation. That got the Germans furious. And then came the Fuhrer. He says, well, I'll do something for you. And they said, oh my God, here's a guy who's going to do something for us. Well, nobody asked an awful lot of questions. A few questions, yes, of course. But nobody asked for all the details. They just knew that this guy was going to do something. And he did do something, but unfortunately he had to take on the whole world in a kind of a way.
And that also wouldn't have happened if the United States hadn't stepped in at the end. I mean, they were fighting each other to a standstill, and then all of a sudden the American president, who ran on staying out of that war, steps in, and you have a fresh military, fresh troops, fresh industry, and one side just got clobbered when they were right about to be done with the war.
No, that's World War I that you're referring to.
Yeah.
However, I will say
and without
this.
World War I going that way,
it wouldn't have happened the way it did. Right.
Yeah.
Treaty of Versailles is very important in the establishment of World War II. But interestingly, in retrospect, and I get that it's hard to take a retrospective view, but in retrospect, it probably would have been better if the United States hadn't participated in the European theater of World War II anyway. And frankly, it probably would have been better if Great Britain hadn't bothered either, because then it would have been the Nazis fighting the commies. And
who doesn't want to watch that?
Right. And it would
National Socialists versus International Socialists.
Interesting
Let me
to
get
see.
my popcorn.
Right. Like right now in the United States, calling somebody a neo-Nazi is about the worst thing you can say about them. But somehow you can run around calling yourself a socialist, and nobody brings up that Stalin killed more people than Hitler ever imagined.
That wasn't real socialism.
Or even Mao, whose
They called
record
it socialism.
Wasn't the real thing.
Because Hitler killed people quickly, but Mao killed them even quicker.
Yeah, well, Pol Pot let him drag out for a while. The number is 603-283-6160. Thanks for the call, Robert. Appreciate it.
The LRN.FM social media channels have been revamped. We've eliminated Facebook and focused on other platforms like Twitter and Mastodon, the decentralized alternative to Twitter. On our accounts, you'll find posts from multiple LRN.FM show hosts together in one place. Follow us on Twitter at twitter.lrn.fm, or better yet, move to the decentralized Mastodon social media platform at toot.lrn.fm, toot.lrn.fm. I think you'll like it.
Having taken her father's throne, Sarah Calhoun has fallen out with one of her best allies, and her brother Nathaniel heads into Imperial Philadelphia with a reckless plan. Her uncle Thomas, armed with new powers and new allies, aims to remove Sarah from her throne and from the world of the living. To survive and to gain the strength she needs to fight an impossible war, Sarah must unite the Mound Builder Kings to enact an ancient rite that will propel her beyond mortality. Servant Daughter by T.J. Butler is the newest entry in the Dragon Award-winning Witchy War series from Baen Books at BaenBooks.com.
Are you tired of governments murdering people around the world? Stop using their money. There is an alternative. Bitcoin is a stateless, free market, non-political currency. Bitcoin cannot be inflated or controlled by any government. By using their money, you are helping the state. Stop doing it! You have an incredible alternative available now. Learn it, use it, spread it. Get started with Bitcoin at bitcoin.com. That's bitcoin.com.
Divvy's been a pretty good investment for Free Talk Live. Their ad campaign started in September 2019, and from mid-March to mid-July, the values soared by 10 times. It's not too late. Divvy's new wallet hasn't even released yet, and other things are happening that I can't even say on the radio. If you want to invest and potentially do well, go to DivvyProject.org. I can tell you that FTL is deepening its partnership with the guys from DivvyProject.org. Past performance is not an indication of future profit. DivvyProject.org. DIVI Project.org.
I'm grateful to have heard from some of our satellite listeners recently. I appreciate knowing that people are out there who like what we do and are willing to support it financially. LRN.FM's free-to-air satellite feeds blanket most of 2 continents. It was my goal to put our channel there so people without internet could receive our programs and feed pirate radio stations. We started a fundraiser on Patreon a few years ago to back the satellite channels. I recently announced that I was considering canceling the feeds, and donations increased from 15 to 20% of our costs, which are around $1,000 per month. That's a good start, and to incentivize more contributions, the Shire Free Church will be matching every dollar. Can we reach $500 per month? With your help, we can. You can join our satellite fundraiser for just $2 a month at fund.lrn.fm. If we raise enough to keep both of the channels on the air, awesome. If we raise more, I'll add more channels. If not, we can shut them down and go internet only. It's up to you. Thank you for your support. fund.lrn.fm. There are lots of ways to listen to Free Talk Live. Our podcast has been around since podcasts began, and now the FTL feed is loaded with content besides our full show archives. Did you know that we make it easy for you to customize your podcast subscriptions? We have different feeds, one that includes only our full shows, one with just the Daily Digest, and our main feed that includes everything. You decide what you listen to. It's quick and easy to customize your feeds at feeds.freetalklive.com. That's feeds.freetalklive.com. Are you a cryptocurrency advocate? The Crypto Tip is the ideal outreach tool to help new people discover cryptocurrency. It's a printable business card-sized tip that you can give to service providers, preferably in addition to a good cash tip. When the server scans the QR code, it'll bring up an explanation of cryptocurrency, how to install a wallet, and allow them to claim the tip. If they don't claim the crypto, you get your tip refunded to you after a time period you specify. Plus, if they do claim the tip, you get an email alert. Create as many tips as you want at cryptotip.org. That's cryptotip.org.
Got Telegram? You can follow our channel there and discuss show prep with other listeners at telegram.freetalklive.com.
Free Talk Live. I forgot to do my job, which was to answer the telephone calls. And
unscreened to the callers.
Yeah. No. I think we should do that because it's punishment for bad behavior on the part of the host, right?
Okay, sure.
You know?
You still got a dump button. Just
I'm
wait
not
for that
scared.
thing to build up.
You scared?
No.
It's
I'm
Mark.
good.
Mark, not scared.
Peakless Mountaineer, fearless.
Richie Rich. Got on the fence on this one.
Well, as you said, I do have a dump button, and I think
don't do it toward the end. We had some trouble with that.
Right. Well, I'll try. As long as nobody mutes my mic, we won't have any problem with me going off either. Search Mark Edge.
You've got the greatest video on YouTube of the one person going off in the studio.
Freaks out on Free Talk Live. It's glorious. Yeah. It's funny to watch. I want to tell you about Bitcoin.com. Bitcoin.com is your source for information on cryptocurrencies. If you've been hearing about the price of Bitcoin rising and you're still kind of befuddled about what it is, they make it very easy to get started. They not only have videos, short videos, easily consumable videos to teach you about cryptocurrency. They also, everything you need to know. They also have their wallet, great wallet. You can purchase cryptocurrency on their site. I think it's Bitcoin Cash, Bitcoin. I'm not exactly sure which ones are available, but they make it relatively easy for you to get started, all at Bitcoin.com. So go check them out. It's great.
It'll never break 20,000.
Yeah, well, it's at 58 now? Yeah, almost 3 times that number.
In a few months.
Imagine all those people who bought in at 16, 17, 18,000, and then it peaked out at 20, and then they sold because they had to have the guts to hold through this. They didn't know, they just thought it was an easy way to make money. And
hodl.
Yeah.
I got a text from a friend of mine who rode the wave, right? Like we got him into it, I think around 2017 or so, and he was like furiously checking the price on a daily basis. I'm like, You got to stop doing that, man. You drive yourself nuts.
Right.
And at some point after the all-time high then, and then subsequent crash down to like 3,000, he got out completely. And then so we've watched this,
Wait, he sold his...
I don't know if he sold at the low.
And
I know he didn't get in at the all-time high, but he rode it all the way up. And then at some point between all-time high and the most recent peak at, valley at 3,000, got out completely. And then I get a text message from the other day. He's like, I'm back in. So now you can start talking to me about it again. So that was interesting.
funny.
It was like off the table for conversation as it started to climbing, and like, dude, you should have just.
Well, while I have no qualifications to talk about this in any way, shape, or form, I do think that the biggest driver of this is that they have brought new definition to reckless spending of the U.S. dollars. They are printing it like it's going out of style, and I do think that's why this is going up so high.
Here's your
and
factoid.
They're not going to slow down.
Your factoid is, in 2020, they printed 1/3 of the U.S. dollars in existence. Now, that by printed, I don't mean they turned on a printing press. I mean they created.
Yeah.
Because they created on computers.
With a snap of the finger and the sign of a pen.
If you understand that the United States has been around 240 years, thereabouts, and 1/3 of the dollars created occurred last year, you understand the problem. If you don't understand why that's a problem, you're the problem.
So,
or another way of looking at it, this system started its existence in 1913. So you add 107 years of this system, a few tweaks here and there, the Bretton Woods and all that, but this dollar, and then boom.
Well, to make an argument, if it hadn't been for the system of value-backed currency prior to the 1913 dollar that was created as fiat currency, and there was still silver-backed money up to that point, but the Federal Reserve note, if it hadn't have been for that, there wouldn't have been nothing upon which to build. So the value-backed currency is the foundation upon which the dollar was built.
There's still so many people that think that that the dollar is gold backed.
Right, or that there's money, that there's gold that they could somehow access in Fort Knox.
It's backed by the full faith and credit of the United States government, therefore worth so much more.
What does that mean?
I don't know.
Nothing. It means nothing.
I can tell you what it really means. It's backed by the full faith that we will continue to have a dominant global military.
Which is obviously not true.
So
no, the United States has to. All empires rise and fall. And now I don't know who's going to take our place, and that's why I say the United States is not done for yet, but it's on its way down.
I have a theory. Yep. I think that cryptocurrency is going to be the one that topples this particular Rome.
Very interesting. Let's go to the phones. Random caller A, you're on Free Talk Live.
You're not scared, Edgington, so-called minister?
So-called minister.
No restraining order is going to stop me.
I wouldn't put a restraining order in. As a matter of fact, I'm traveling to New Mexico sometime in 2021, and I intend...
Free Talk Live meetup.
I intend to find you, David.
I'm gonna get you then. I'll get you then.
Send me, by the way, email me your telephone number because I intend to meet up.
Oh, you're going to make it easy for me, huh? All
That's
right.
He's going to post it on social media, too.
Yeah. I just think you're just darned entertaining. Go ahead.
Let's shoot it out at high noon on the streets of Lincoln, New Mexico. How about that?
I'm not shooting anything. Quaker.
Well, just pretend then.
Trying to get the felon in trouble for having a
video.
firearm.
But I'm still shooting.
Okay.
Mark will duck.
What's on your mind? Anything? Just jokes.
Mark will the duck or Mark will suck. What was that?
Depends how much.
I'm not coming out there for that.
Oh, okay, all right. I was just reviewing court records when you mentioned at the top of your hour about people who have court orders saying they can't call certain radio stations. And let's note that in the Bernalillo or in the New Mexico court's case lookup, all of my cases say dismissed, and nowhere in there do you see me pleading guilty to anything. And but now if I look at Mr. What's her name again? I've completely forgotten her name. I guess that's a good sign. Mr. Nicole Elich, Madaria Coyne, Olson Elich.
Mr. Who gender swap here?
Who's It's not nice to name your kid, your male child, Nicole.
No, this is the dude that replaced me. Kurt Odin Elich. Looking at court records here, I see in contrast though his 5 charges, which included felonies, whereas mine did not. His count as to count number 1, aggravated battery against a household member, strangulation or suffocation, dismissed.
That sounds
per
bad.
plea agreement. As to count number 2, criminal sexual contact, misdemeanor,
sounds
dismissed per plea agreement.
Dismissed.
Yeah.
Criminal sexual contact is a misdemeanor?
How can you plea agree and get your charge dismissed. I mean,
we're still getting there. As to count number 4, battery, that was the where he smacked up my son. Dismissed per plea agreement. As to count number 5, assault, unlawful acts, threats, or conduct. Dismissed per plea agreement. Okay, so as to count number 3, battery on a household member, guilty, conviction by plea. So he pled guilty to misdemeanor domestic violence. And on that subject, it's interesting to note that on my case, where I called into a radio station.
Thank you.
And
Free Talk Live.
So the protection of life, liberty, and property is what the Free State Project is all about. But it's an effort to move 20,000 people who understand.
It's about demonstrating to the entire country.
Yeah, we can have a free market, a truly free market. Making it just a freer, great place to live.
It's the world's largest voluntarist libertarian community, and it's only getting bigger.
That's amazing, to be able to move to a place where other people passionately believe in being free and independent.
What the Free State Project is managing to do, though, is to put their money where their mouth is. Physically getting up across the country and saying, let's go someplace and let's demonstrate the power of these ideas. There's a lot of kind of philosophy that surrounds liberty. There's a lot of thinking about it and talking about it. But here in New Hampshire, people are doing it.
101 Reasons Liberty Lives in New Hampshire, a documentary by Free State Project Early Movers. Watch it free at 101reasonsfilm.com. 101reasonsfilm.com.
Does this ever happen to you? Moments after you're introduced to someone, you forget his or her name. It's a common faux pas you'll want to avoid, especially if you're a job seeker. And even if you're not, here's a tip. As you are being introduced, and while you're still shaking hands, smiling, and making eye contact, say the person's name aloud. Not only does that make a deposit in your memory bank, it acknowledges the other person. And that is more than a nuance, as is maintaining eye contact. With money and attention so scarce now, effective communication skills have never been more important. Cutting through the clutter rather than blending into the blah, blah, blah will help you connect better no matter what the conversation. For more tips, hit survivalspeech.com. I'm Holland Cook.
You know that at some point in your life, an emergency is going to happen. You just don't know when. You could call the government and maybe they'll help, or they might shoot your dog. Why call potentially psychopathic strangers when you could ask your friends, family, or neighbors for help? Cell 411 makes decentralized emergency response possible, and it's free. Visit getcell411.com or download Cell 411 from your favorite app store. Getcell411.com.
What if you want to hear the latest episode of Free Talk Live, but all you have is your phone, you forgot to download our archive, and you have no data connection? You can call our Listen line at 641-793-0191. That's a long-distance number, so you may incur charges. If not, listen as long as you want. 641-793-0191. The Free Talk Live Listen line, 641-793-0191.
Free Talk Live, the show where anyone can call about whatever they want. And we do mean anyone.
If you're doing something very interesting, or you have a reputation for doing something very interesting,
yeah,
then you become more interesting to track.
I love how dramatic you are. Then you become...
Oh, my.
Yeah.
Well, that's the month I worked in psychotropic substances when I was working for the CIA.
Yeah. So you were testing, what, LSD or that sort of thing, or what?
Hey, you think I'm going to say on the air?
You've already told us you work for the CIA.
You couldn't possibly find out who I am.
The way that you speak and your tone of voice, you sound like Cruella DeVille. I've noticed it from the moment you got on the phone.
I even look like her.
Free Talk Live, 7 nights a week from 7 to 10 Eastern, live on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM. Do you appreciate what we do? Help us advertise, market, and promote for just $5 a month at amp.freetalklive.com.
Talk Live. 603. Please write this. Please record this in your phone. 603-283-6160. The reason to do that is because, maybe you're not going to call on a topic tonight, but there will be a time in the future when you want to call in. And if you just have FTL, it's not that hard to spell, I swear. FTL in your phone, 603-283-6160. You'll be ready to talk.
Please write this down with your quill.
Right. I don't care. Chisel it into a rock. 603-283-6160. Here on Free Talk Live, it's Mark with you.
Peakless Mountaineer.
And Richie Rich.
Let's go to the phones. We've got Vernon calling in from New Orleans, and he wants to talk about the Texas power outage.
So nice to finally hear you back on here, Mark, because Ian and his yes people just get old after a while, I must say. And that other caller also gets very old, by the way, too, about his case in this radio station. I am so sick of hearing about it, just like I got so sick of hearing about the traffic stuff with that other caller that used to call in all
What was
the time.
her name?
And I think that he should be considered a chronic caller and temporarily let go so that we don't have to hear about his stupid court cases anymore.
You mean this isn't the David Olson show?
So
absolutely,
I would.
To be fair, we went to him unscreened, straight to the line because we didn't have a call screener for the last call.
Well, I agree.
Well, we
that
had one.
One should not beat a topic to death. I think there's some important, like David does a great deal of judicial activism that I think is important. We need to hear about, perhaps not in the detail that we have heard about it in, but you know, I
the repetition,
Yeah,
the monotony.
perhaps.
The
I do want to hear what
repetition.
happens about his kids. I'm very interested in that because this guy has been robbed of his children over the vast majority of their youth, and I don't know how old they are.
Yeah, I wonder what the other side of the story is, though, you know?
His
I
wife
don't
has
know,
never
but-
called in, that's for sure.
I would
Excellent.
love
Exactly,
to. I would
yeah.
love to hear the other side call in. That would be awesome.
It's probably just that
I
he's
would too. I really would because I think
irascible
there's a lot
individual.
more that we're missing. So I read an article. So I called in a couple of days ago with Ian and his yes people, and you know I said Texas has got a free market for the power. Well, you know, it was created by the government, blah blah blah, and that's not what I'm arguing about tonight. Tonight's conversation I'd like to be about is the recent power bills that they just got because of this quote unquote free market, whatever you want to call it. I have read an article where people are getting bills for $1,000 a day, and they live in an apartment where their typical power bill would be $80, but because the power supply was so constrained and Texas is a quote unquote free market that they were being able to charge people for thousands of dollars. I mean, I think someone read that they have a bill of over $7,000 for 1 week, and they have their account, their credit card linked directly to that, and it supposedly drained it. And this is in the New York Times, by the way.
Yep.
So I just was now I was told also that New Hampshire has a quote unquote free market for power. And I was just curious, does the same thing happen up there when the power, you know, when there's a high demand for power? Or is that just something unique to Texas?
First off, I think that these are free markets in the way the Congo is a democratic republic.
I would agree with that. So for one, free markets need problems in order to solve them. You don't want them solving problems that have not yet occurred. So I think that I think people will suddenly begin to care about whether or not power can be, adjusted up and down on a minute-by-minute basis.
Okay.
Here in New Hampshire, in order to raise or lower the power, they have to go through the legislature. So, yes, you can be billed by a variety of different companies. The supplier is still PS&H, Public Services.
Let me take a quick
go
shot.
ahead.
Let me take a quick shot at the Texas thing because I don't have the source in front of me. So I might be repeating this back somewhat incorrectly, but there was an article of some substance available pointing to the fact that the Texas power price increase was not necessarily reflective of a free market, but of a government diktat that says in the state of an emergency, in order to allocate the power, the limited power accordingly, that they were required to charge no less than a certain ridiculously high price, like $1,500 per kilowatt hour.
And
something
it
to
was
that effect.
$8. It was $8 per kilowatt hour, and there wasn't a it wasn't a maximum. It's the maximum that the power utilities could charge. It wasn't mandatory that they charge that, but it was a maximum that was raised to the top level that they could possibly do within the law. So, and they did it.
When you keep people from entering a market, when you keep other companies from coming in and saying, here's what different thing we're going to do in order to provide power at a better price to people, then yes, this is going to happen. There are hundreds of companies
you can choose from to get your power in Texas.
And they're all
this
run
is where
the
I'm
same
not
way.
understanding.
Well, okay, so that we agree that it is not acceptable to charge people when they don't know what the per kilowatt hour rate is going to be, some astronomical rate. If you will also concede that likely these people signed a contract that said this ridiculous thing that they probably didn't read.
You're right. So they like this one company charges a straight wholesale price plus $10 a month. Well, the straight wholesale price like skyrocketed, and so they did agree to that, and they've been trying, and these people are trying to switch to other companies that maybe have more favorable terms.
Sure.
But you know, when they're not in crisis, that type of an arrangement is very beneficial. But then whenever, you know, like this happened, maybe these people didn't realize that, which is where that company has that advantage.
Oh yeah, it's a huge advantage, and I don't think it should exist. Let me ask you this: do you think that these people will actually have to pay? And I mean that in so much as they will not be refunded or anything like that.
I think this company requires some sort of a link to either a bank account or to a credit card in order to establish service, and it sounds like they withdraw the money on a daily basis or something. I'm not sure. I don't live in Texas, so I'm not sure, but that's the impression I got. Or no. The utility bills were due. That's what it was. The utility bills were due this past week, and they did have that money withdrawn from their account, and they didn't realize the bill was so high.
I'm not. When I say pay, what I mean is not that they may have the money withdrawn for their bank accounts, but that they will not have it refunded to them at some point. I think that.
Oh yeah, that I don't know. I did hear that the Texas Power Commission, ran by the government, is ordering no more utility bills to be collected right now, and no disconnections until they figure this stuff out.
Right.
So
I think.
So, anyways, I guess I'm just concerned. My bigger question though is, in the abstract, is this free market idea and how the free market, you know, just bumped up the prices of this power for, just like in Bitcoin or just like in anything. It's like it's so market driven that it prices out most people, because most people couldn't afford $1,000 a day electric bill.
Right. Most people couldn't afford a $1,000 a day electric bill, and those shouldn't have been handed out. I'm with you 100%. They should have had contracts that had a peak amount or whatever, and I think that would have been a much fairer thing to do. And remember that it has only recently become a free market, quote unquote, free market in electricity, and before that it was state-run, so people became laconic and lulled into a false sense of security, like something like this couldn't happen. I also think that it is immoral to collect after the fact on something like this. You can't negotiate with somebody afterwards. That's not fair. So people had the expectation of paying $8 a kilowatt hour, and that's what they should have paid. Or maybe they should have just cut off power to these people.
Well, they had the rolling blackouts. They did cut off power.
Well, but they still delivered power to people at whatever exorbitant rate.
A quick idea I'd like to throw out there. How about we actually make our agreements in, you know, a language we speak? And then you will know what the heck you're agreeing to when you sign these things.
So that's the difficulty I think that libertarians have, is to sell the contract, because everybody signed a contract and signed many contracts, and they haven't read most of them. And I don't. You know, I don't read most of the contracts I sign. I did, some cases I...
Mark, thank you so much for the reasonable conversation. Thank you.
Thank you, Vernon. Thanks for the call. The number, 603-283-6160. That's 603-283-6160. The free market isn't perfect, but consider that monopolies really suck. Free Talk Live.
Is spreading the message of liberty, cryptocurrency, and peace around the globe worth $2 per month to you? As you may already know, in addition to our internet feed, LRN.FM broadcasts on free-to-air satellite across North and Central America, as well as Sub-Saharan Africa. And we've been available on satellite for free 24/7 since 2010. The LRN.FM free-to-air satellite signal is reaching some of the most oppressive regimes in the world, and there's no doubt our ideas are making an impact. You can learn more about the channel's impact by watching the 3-minute video at fund.lrn.fm. If you'd like to help free minds globally with our ideas of liberty, cryptocurrency, and peace, you can donate as little as $2 per month via fund.lrn.fm. You can help us continue and expand our satellite broadcast to multiple continents. Visit fund.lrn.fm today, and thank you for your help. Don't forget to share the link on social media. That's fund.lrn.fm.
Look, I'm sorry, but you're in for a world of pain if you use Koinomi. The reason is their wallet doesn't support payments. The solution is simple. Let them hear your voice. Message Koinomi on Twitter, it takes 5 seconds, and tell them AnyPay sent you, because they're on the fence right now, and your voice will prove that people care about using Bitcoin for payments. Go tweet at Koinomi now. Or even better, leave a review in the App Store. They really pay attention there. Thanks.
Tired of cancel culture? Sick of mega tech corporations holding an axe over your head? Join the LRN.FM Matrix chat server. It's self-hosted, so no one else can tell us what to do or say. Don't like the existing channels? You can make your own. You can even connect into some of our channels from other Matrix servers. It's federated. For the full LRN.FM Matrix experience, though, you should join our server via the step-by-step instructions at chat.lrn.fm. Chat.lrn.fm.
Hi, I'm Derek J. I don't want a politician to represent me. To me, government is the idea that one group of people can coerce everyone to comply with an edict or face increasing punishments up to and including death. Despite perhaps the most noble of intentions, the best government services are a far cry from what could be provided for by voluntary interactions. Besides, the people who call themselves the government wage wars and put peaceful people in jail for crimes involving no victims. If Starbucks used some of its money to drop bombs, I wouldn't shop there. So why would I support the American empire? The empire does not require my consent.
Derek J's Victimless Crime Spree. Watch it for free and order the Director's Cut DVD at victimlesscrimespree.com. That's victimlesscrimespree.com. Some of you asked, and now we've delivered. LRN.FM's live Keene, New Hampshire studio shows are now streamed in HD on Twitch. Visit our channel at twitch.lrn.fm and give it a follow. If you have Amazon Prime, you get 1 free subscription on Twitch. If you use it on our channel, Twitch will give LRN.FM a monthly piece of your Prime subscription cost. So please watch, follow, share, and subscribe to twitch.lrn.fm. That's twitch.lrn.fm.
Free speech is protected on the internet, right? Not always. Government agencies try to limit free speech and commerce on the net. Luckily, when they do, the Institute for Justice is there to defend your First Amendment right to free speech. IJ helped set the first federal precedent for internet free speech in 1999, and ever since has worked to prevent unconstitutional roadblocks in cyberspace. Visit our website today at ij.org.
Our Matrix server is about as free as internet chat can be. Join the existing rooms or create your own at chat.freetalklive.com.
Talk Live. Call in. Well, don't call in. Actually, that's not going to work.
We don't need your stinking calls.
Well, you
call
can call in
tomorrow,
and I could take an unscreened call. That's potential.
That worked the first time.
I'll give the number 603-283-6160, and I want to get through what you have to say right now, Richie. But first, I have to thank Leah Hoffman and her family for being an amplifier. If you want to be an amplifier and support Free Talk Live, freedom of speech, the only really libertarian radio program out there, go to amp.freetalklive.com. That's amp.freetalklive.com, and hopefully you'll enjoy your amplifier membership as much as Leah has, and getting to know our other amplifiers and our special amplifier chats and all these sorts of things. It's amp.freetalklive.com.
All right, I don't want to take a lot of time on this, so I will read quickly from February 16th on Newsweek. Headline, Texas utility regulator orders energy price hike while millions go without power. The public
Texas energy regulator
the
orders price hike.
Right. The Public Utility Commission of Texas has directed the state's main grid operators to raise energy prices as millions of people are enduring below freezing weather without power in their homes. The PUC met an emergency open meeting on Monday evening to address concerns that certain pricing mechanisms were not generating an optimal response to the electricity crisis sparked by the extreme winter weather. Following the meeting, commissioners issued an order to modify pricing models to more accurately reflect the scarcity conditions in the market. The order also directed the Electricity Reliability Council of Texas, ERCOT, which monitors the state's power grid, to adjust past prices to reflect the current shortage of energy. In the emergency order, POC explained that ERCOT had informed them of the energy prices across the system were clearing at less than the current system's wide offer cap of $9,000. The cap ensures customers are protected from massive price hikes.
What is $9,000? $9,000 per kilowatt? I mean, what are we talking about?
I don't know in the context.
Okay. But anyway, it appears as though the Texas regulators
clearing price.
had a great deal to do with this price raise. And according to Tucker Carlson, I don't know how good this is, apparently it's a lot of that green energy that they put up in the windmills and all those sorts of
One
things.
more quick quote. Energy prices should reflect the scarcity of supply, the order said. If customer load is being shed, scarcity is at its maximum, and the market price for the energy needs to serve that load should also be at its highest.
Agreed, energy prices should reflect scarcity. However, if you don't know what you're paying
if only
for,
there was a mechanism for discovering the scarcity of a
call
resource.
It price. It's easy, but the thing about prices is you have to know before you're paying it.
Understood.
It's not fair to just say
Democratic People's Republic of Free Market.
Not arguing that. The caller was very clear, seemed to befuddle the free market for this rise in prices. But
he was reading the New York Times.
Okay. And this is the Newsweek saying that it was the Public Utility Commission that was mandating these price increases.
So also, we were going to go through the secret history of the shadow campaign that saved the 2020 election. And I want to get through that, and I think I'm going to do that next week when you come, Lee. However, there's an important quote in here that I do not want to miss. We teased.
So there's actually a couple of really important quotes, and one that
It's a very important article, and I encourage everybody to go to Time, or actually we got it on the archive, but Time put it out, so time.com, the secret history of the shadow campaign that saved the 2020 election.
And one little buried quote that I think is worth reading it with this idea in mind is the quote, "We knew exactly what Trump was going to do. He was going to try to use the fact that Democrats voted by mail and Republicans voted in person to make it look like he was ahead." Okay, so read this entire thing when you do or hear about it or what have you. Keep in mind, like they know that Democrats are going to vote by mail and Republicans are going to vote in person.
Trump knew that up front too.
Everybody knew that was going to be the case.
Right.
And
so there shouldn't have been a surprise when all the mail-in votes came in and it skewed Democrat.
So this entire campaign of, it was so important to save our election, to make sure that we could, do a completely different thing than we've done ever before. It's like they make it sound as if, we're just making it free and fair elections, even though we know that doing it exactly this way will have this exact outcome.
Right. And I mean, we went over mail-in ballots and the difficulty with just sending out ballots to the last known address of people and these sorts of things.
There was clearly fraud.
Well, anybody who says there wasn't fraud in the election is a fool. Now, the question is, was the fraud sufficient to steal the election? I don't know the answer to that, but here's the question I ask every Democrat when they want to rebut this is, do you believe that Republicans have systematically over the last 20 years taken over election apparatus so that they can set the jurisdictions and gerrymander to make it so that Republicans are overrepresented in state and the federal legislature?
Democrats would never do that.
Well, but they can say that Democrats would never do it, and then they're effing fools, right? Like,
sure,
you're an absolute fool if you don't think a political creature on both sides of the aisle would cheat.
Right. So what I've said, early when this happened was both sides cheated. The Democrats cheated better.
Right.
And that's why they got the White House.
If you If you make a system where you can cheat with the fewest number of people involved as possible, that's a believable cheat.
No one ever wins at politics by cheating, because if you win, you aren't called a cheater.
That's right, because history is written by the winners.
Now, I do want to get
just
a couple of quick lines before we get into the paragraph that
well, I got to get to this call, too.
Boy. Okay, so just a quick couple of teasers from the article. There was a conspiracy unfolding behind the scenes, one that both curtailed the protests and coordinated the resistance from CEOs.
There was a conspiracy behind the scenes.
The handshake between business and labor was just one component of a vast cross-partisan campaign to protect the election.
Sounds like Mussolini's definition of fascism.
And here we are. Let's see. They were not rigging the election. They were fortifying it.
That just sounds like a justification. What's the difference between fortifying and rigging?
Whatever it takes to get Trump out of office, man.
Let's go to the phones. We got Pepsi calling in. I got no other information because it was late coming in call. Pepsi, you're on Free Talk Live.
Hey, what's up, fellas? You know, I'm just over here listening, man, and like, how the flip did we get here? You know,
voting 4 years at a time.
Even if the whole $1,000 a kilowatt hour type thing, you know what I mean? It's like they're playing a video game. You know what I mean? This is like unreal. You know, they know that, you know, if they're going to try to like just take advantage of people, man, it's just not right. You know what I mean? But how did we get here to let these people do that? You know?
We allowed the government to dominate industry.
Yeah, you know, it's like
monopoly
privilege, bullies. Yeah. You know what I mean? I can't stand bullies, man. And these people are just like, I mean, it's just so blatant. It's like, I'm gonna do this in your face, and you know, what are you gonna do? You know what I mean? You got to do something, man, because this just can't go on like this. It's just wrong and blatant. You know,
they've got the power and control, and most people won't stand up to them.
Yeah,
that's
the
easy answer. You know,
and a big part of it was the way we saw things. It wasn't seen as these people own these things. It's these companies exist for the public's well-being and therefore should be dominated by the government.
Nah, man, but we put them in that position. You know what I'm saying? They're supposed to serve us. You know what I mean? And they got it twisted, and we're buying it.
Illusion.
And that's just, you know.
That is the
I would
illusion.
agree with you that
know,
that's what they should do. But we have enough evidence at this point that that's not what they're going to do.
What they should do is stop, you know, kidnapping people, beating them, shooting them, threatening them. They should, you know, be non-aggressive. You know, do the things we learned in kindergarten.
So do you guys think that, thank you for the call, Pepsi. Do you guys think that this will actually stick in so much as people will actually have to pay these bills? I mean, like when I've had cell phone bills that are astronomical, right?
Yeah.
Have you ever had this?
No.
You've never had a situation where your cell phone bill or your long distance bill or whatever happens and it's like, whoa, I didn't know that was going to happen.
I have a prepaid plan to prevent that very occurrence.
Well, I mean, ever in your life though?
Once I started like paying my own cell phone bill, I switched to prepaid.
So I will say this is that I've had, you know, back in the early days of a cell phone, you'd had to hang up to stop a call, and you were paid by the minute.
Yeah.
And I had a situation where I forgot to hang up on the call, and so it was like, you know, several hundred minutes of the cell phone being open.
Yeah.
And I called the cell phone company. I said, hey, this is outrageous, really. I can't pay this. And they said they forgave it.
Yeah.
And I'm hoping that that's what occurs in this instance in Texas. And I hope that people learn from the situation where they pay for the kilowatt hour after they use it.
Well, part of the reason that may not happen is that the power companies had to pay exorbitant prices to get whatever power they had in anyway.
Right, but then they distributed it to people who didn't need it. Like if these people thought that they were going to pay $1,000 a kilowatt hour or whatever the number is, I don't care. They would have never ordered that power.
Well, I certainly hope that people are upset about this and organized enough to get the government to print money to give to the electric companies to pay their bills and thus make the price of Bitcoin rise even higher.
That sounds likely. Check us out in the meantime at freetalklive.com. It's been Mark with you.
Beakless Mountaineer.
And Richie Rich.
freetalklive.com. Social.freetalklive.com.
Want to accept Bitcoin at your online store? There's a good chance you already have what you need: a WordPress using WooCommerce and a Bitcoin address. Now all you need to start taking Bitcoin payments on your website is the AnyPay app on your Android or iPhone. Just paste your Bitcoin address into AnyPay, then connect it to your website with our one-click plugin for WordPress. Now your website takes Bitcoin, start to finish, in 15 minutes or less with no complicated steps. Download AnyPay from the App Store today.
So you've heard all 3 hours of the latest episode of Free Talk Live, and you're still hungry for liberty-oriented audio content? Did you know that we have another 24/7 audio stream at LRN.FM? The Liberty Radio Network airs the latest episodes of some of the best liberty-oriented podcasts on the internet around the clock. In addition to recorded content, you'll also hear live shows like Free Talk Live, originating from our Keene, New Hampshire studio. So listen anytime at LRN.FM. That's LRN.FM. Bitcoin.com has launched a trading platform at local.bitcoin.com, allowing you to buy or sell Bitcoin Cash via dozens of payment methods like PayPal, Venmo, bank deposit, remittances, or meeting in person with cash. There are no ID requirements to sign up for and use the site, and all communications between buyers and sellers are encrypted. Finally, a global trading platform that respects your privacy. Visit local.bitcoin.com to get started trading Bitcoin Cash. local.bitcoin.com. If you want to know the latest about Free Talk Live before we go on the air, all you need to decide is how you want it delivered. It's your choice. Visit news.freetalklive.com to receive our usually weekly news updates by email. Plus, we have a Twitter account at twitter.freetalklive.com, and you can follow us on the decentralized Mastodon platform at toot.freetalklive.com. So please follow us at toot.freetalklive.com and sign up for our emails at news.freetalklive.com.
This is the Liberty Radio Network, broadcasting the latest liberty-oriented audio content 24 hours a day at LRN.FM.
The FAA has ordered an immediate inspection of some Boeing airliners. I'm Joe Chiro, Fox News. United Airlines says it's halting all flights by its fleet of 24 Boeing 777 airplanes with the same type of engine involved in yesterday's emergency landing in Denver. The decision followed a directive from the FAA to immediately inspect those engines. Yesterday's failure near Denver showered large chunks of debris in a neighborhood, but no one was hurt. This woman was a passenger.
I could see just a large flash. You could tell it definitely was flames, and you could hear it, feel it. You could feel the heat from it.
The plane was able to return safely to the airport. United is the only airline that flies the Boeing 777 with that particular engine. The House this week set to discuss President Biden's nearly $2 trillion relief package.
He wants to do this in a bipartisan way. He spent 36 years over on Capitol Hill working with both Republicans and Democrats, but some of those Republicans he used to call Senate colleagues have some questions about some of the spending in that bill. $100 million for BART, which is the Bay Area Rapid Transit System in San Francisco, about $1 billion for other similar transportation projects, around $200 million for museums and libraries, and about $270 million combined in arts and humanities endowments.
Fox's David Spunt. An Arkansas police officer is hospitalized in stable condition after being shot in the town of Lanoke by a man who allegedly kidnapped a 14-year-old girl from North Carolina. The Arkansas State Police say the girl is safe, and the man accused of kidnapping her appeared to have died from a self-inflicted gunshot wound. Christopher Bells won today's NASCAR Cup race in Daytona, a first in his career. America is listening to Fox News.
When running a business, HR issues can kill you. Wrongful termination suits, minimum wage requirements, labor regulations. I'm Alan Jones, founder and CEO of Bambee. I created Bambee specifically for small business. Get a dedicated HR manager, craft HR policy, and maintain compliance for $99 a month, seriously. Month to month, no hidden fees, cancel anytime.
Go to Bambee.com/money to schedule your free HR audit. That's BAM to the BEE.com/money.
California is rolling out a new system to deliver and schedule vaccinations in select counties. It's aimed at smoothing out what's been a disjointed vaccination program with limited supply. Governor Gavin Newsom visited 2 vaccination sites today and said the state is prioritizing vaccines for his school staff members.
All those folks that make schools work. I mean, the janitor, the custodial staff that deserves that support, the cafeteria worker, and bus drivers and others. So we are prioritizing.
California has now administered more than 7 million doses of COVID-19 vaccine. President Biden facing criticism for his school reopening plan. Fox's Charles Watson reports.
Critics of the Biden administration say it has not been clear at all on the issue of reopening schools. Earlier this week, the president said he wanted most K-8 schools open 5 days a week by his 100th day in office sometime in April. Publicly, he has avoided questions about whether or not he believes teachers should be vaccinated first, though White House officials have said the president and vice president support new CDC guidelines which don't require teachers to be vaccinated before returning to the classroom. Meanwhile, frustrated parents in Oakley, California, holding protests in hopes of getting their kids back in class.
President Biden's coronavirus relief bill would allocate nearly $130 billion toward reopening schools. Gas prices continue their upward trend in the U.S. Trilby Lundberg is a publisher of the Lundberg Survey.
The average price of gasoline, regular grade, is $2.64.